Mr. Riddell?
You ready to go, Dick? You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Yucaipa regular meeting of December 14th, 2020. I'm Mayor David Avila, and I will be, for at least the next few minutes, will be hosting as mayor. As you know, today we have, it's a special day. We have 2 new elected officials and 1 returning incumbent. And we have a lot of processes to go through, so if you're patient with me, we'll get through this quickly, and we can move on, and we'll introduce our new lineup. So I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll ask Captain Williams to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Captain. Mrs. Crawford, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Bogue,
Here.
Councilmember Duncan,
Here.
Councilmember Riddell,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Present.
Mayor Avila.
Here. All right, Mr. Casey, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. There is additional information provided for items 6, 10, 11, an agreement that came Friday from NRCS, and 13 exhibits. No changes to the text in the staff reports, but additional information for all 4 of those items this evening. And it's available at the back as well as handed out, distributed to City Council tonight.
And that'll be distributed to us after the reorg.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're moving on to special presentations. And the first one's going to be presented by Margot Martin.
So, dear council members, the community service team is proud to share with you and the community that we held our first virtual art contest for middle school students in November. We received 12 submissions. The Public Art Committee juried the work from the following criteria: originality and quality, artistic ability, theme interpretation, creativity, overall design, and usage of medium. The submissions were all outstanding, and we commend all the young artists that not only submitted, but have dreams and aspirations to work hard and to continue their path in the arts field. The Public Art Committee selected a winner. The artist selected is Sage, and she will have her work published in our Winter-Spring Recreation Guide. As I mentioned, there were so many wonderful works of art that the committee also selected the 2nd place winner, Colby, and a 3rd place winner, Kaylee. The Public Art Committee and city staff would like to thank all of the students, parents, and teachers that helped submit work and encourage the students to apply. And now the chair of the Public Art Committee, Daryl Bryan, will present the artist, Sage, with a certificate for her work. Yep, this is the award-winning work.
Sage, we'd like to have your picture taken with you, please. So if you would indulge us, we'll come on down. Happy eyes.
One more for mom. Oh, thank you.
Sure, if you're,
We'll stay down here for one more.
and I think Annette Flores is here with the, yes, come on up, Annette, and whoever you're brought with you, if you could introduce them tonight. What's that? Denise Work? I'm not sure who else is with you, but perhaps, Annette, you could introduce them as well. And this is for the YAPS ceremony this evening.
Good evening, I'm Annette Flores. I am the Executive Director of Yucaipa Animal Placement Society. Tonight I have fellow board members Jolena Greider and Denise Work here to say thank you to Councilman Riddell for all of his hard work on our behalf and to the rest of the council for always being there to support YAPS. We sincerely appreciate it.
Did you want to say something about this?
What it is? The audience. Is it-
Before pictures, Councilmember Riddell has a few words.
On behalf of the city council, I would like to present this check, $50,000 to YAPS to complete their quarantine building. YAPS has been a favorite charity of mine for many, many years, and I want everybody to understand that this was unanimous by the city council. I wish YAPS all the good in the world, and I thank my fellow council members for contributing to Annette Flores and their wonderful Denise Work and the rest of their board here. And I hope you all continue to support YAPS. It's a wonderful organization, and they deserve our support. And would you like to say a few words?
I just want to thank everybody here for this. This is the biggest donation YAPS has received to date. This is going to be altering for our organization. At this point now, we've been working really hard on that canine holding area. This gives us promise to enclose the area, to save more pets, and to be a better resource to our local community as well as to the outlying communities as well. And I honestly, this is a huge honor for me. And I thank you all very much for your support again. We couldn't do this without our community support, and it means everything, not only to us, but to the pets that are homeless at YAPS. So thank you, really.
One more up top. Very, very nice. Okay, this is time for public comment. This is an opportunity for any of the public to speak on any general topic not included on the agenda this evening. I'd like to remind you that the speaker slips are in the corner here on that desk. And if you want, you can bring them, sign a speaker slip, bring it up to Jennifer Crawford here on your right. And again, this is only for general comment. That's an item's not specific to anything on the agenda. Right now, we have one public comment only. Are there any others? Ms. City Clerk? Okay, and the first one and only will be Joe Sutt. Joe Sutt.
Should be speaking from the overflow room.
I don't either. Makes two of us. Hi, my name is Joe Sutt. My address is 34111 Wildwood Canyon Road, space 117. I have a real brief comment tonight. I just want to thank our outgoing council members, Denise Allen and Dick Riddell, for your years of commitment and service to the city of Yucaipa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, see no other public comment on general items. We'll go ahead and move to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that members of the council wish to remove for discussion? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move consent.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, first and a second. If no further discussion, since we're all here, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, consent agenda passes. Now we're moving on to a ceremonial portion in which we are going to issue proclamations for our outgoing council members, including Denise Allen and Dick Riddell. Okay, are there any council members that wish to have, before then, Ray, did you want to say something first, or you wish the council members to speak first?
Happy to say a few words, if I may. Just wanted to share with our outgoing council members, Allen and Riddell, on behalf of staff, how much we appreciate your leadership, both in the community and certainly in directing policy for us to follow together with the rest of the council. And it's been a pleasure to work for you folks, and I know I speak for the entire staff. And in saying that, we left a envelope on your at your place of seating tonight. We all got together and pitched in and tried to help a local business at the same time. So just a small token of our appreciation for all the effort and all the leadership over the years. So on behalf of staff, thank you again for all that you've done.
All right. Any council members wish to speak?
I can start on this end.
Very good, sir.
So I've been contemplating on what I could say over the last couple of weeks to try to sum this all up, and there's really nothing I could say in just a couple of words to summarize the influence that these two have had on the city. It's enormous. So what I decided to do is I thought I'd come up with something that most people don't know, and I'll start off with Dick Riddell. Dick Riddell, over the last number of years, before every city council meeting, I don't know if you guys know this, but we sit around and talk college football. We hardly ever talk policy. We really don't talk too much about city policy, but we talk about college football, and he's a Notre Dame fan, and I've always held that against him because I'm an SC fan, but that's okay. Notre Dame's done really well the last few years, and I've always appreciated that, and he's just a great guy. And one thing about Dick Riddell is that if he is on your side, he is going to advocate for you to the bitter end. So if it's yaps, whatever it may be, he is going to advocate for you. That's Dick Riddell. Council member, Mayor Pro Tem, Denise Hoyt, or Allen, sorry. Trevor's laughing. Anyway, as you guys know, under the Brown Act, we're allowed to actually talk to one other council member. We're not really allowed to communicate about different issues and so forth, but we can talk to one other council member. And I have to tell you, Denise has always been my go-to. I've always talked to Denise. At any time I could call her and she would pick up and we could discuss issues. And one thing I knew about Denise is she always had the city's best interest. There was no doubt. It did not necessarily mean I agreed with her. We disagreed on issues, but I always knew that Denise was doing it because she loved the city of Yucaipa. So thank you for both of your service. You guys are awesome. Our next city council members, I'm excited to work with you guys. The city of Yucaipa is great regardless. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Duncan?
Well, I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Riddell and for Denise. I remember that Mr. Riddell, when I first got elected to city council, wasn't real fond of me, and I have worked real hard to become his friend. And Mr. Riddell is a great man, a wise man, a lot of knowledge. Our city council is losing 40 years of knowledge and experience with the loss of these two individuals. And I've thought about this a lot, and I'm really concerned about it because Mr. Riddell and Denise have both got a lot of knowledge that I hope we have been able to glean both from staff and also from them. But Mr. Riddell has become a friend of mine, I believe. I love him dearly. I have a great deal of respect for him. I wish him the very, very best. And Denise, we're going to miss her perspective big time. I think we need to have a woman's perspective all the time, and we're going to be losing that. But Denise, you're a wonderful person. I've enjoyed serving with you. We haven't always agreed, and I think that's healthy. But one thing that I've always committed to doing, even though we argue or disagree on the dais, I make sure that I greet my colleagues and let them know how much I appreciate their service and their attitude and their perspective, even though I don't agree with that perspective. So thank you both very, very much. I'm going to miss you both for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. For me, having both of these two people on my left has been a godsend and a blessing. Starting with Councilmember Allen, her intelligence, her articulation, her thoughtful approach, her balanced approach to all of the issues has been very, very influential and important. I hang on everything she says. Every word she says, I listen to. And I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss her strength, not just as a woman, but as a human being, as an intelligent human being. And I think a little bit, and gentlemen, our newly elected officials, you have big shoes to fill just with her. But I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure we'll get along just fine. For Mr. Riddell, he is the man to me. As been articulated earlier, 40 years of knowledge. I mean, between the two of them, 40 years of knowledge, but with Mr. Riddell's tenure, his experience, his intelligence and perspective, and his love and caring for our city has put us in the position we are in today. We are fiscally sound despite the efforts of Governor Newsom and all those who try to close our shops down and our restaurants down. We have parks and other facilities that under his leadership may not have been as fruitful. We have a very well-run community because of his leadership, his insights and influence. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for both of these outgoing council members, for their leadership and examples in which I hope someday that within, at least for the next 2 years, I hope to follow. I agree. It's going to be different up here. I look forward to the new experiences, but I am going to miss the experience that is leaving the dais tonight. Thank you, you guys. I'm very proud to know you, and I thank you for your service personally from the bottom of my heart. With that, we have a couple of proclamations. I'm going to ask Mr. Duncan to read Mayor Pro Tem Allen's proclamation, if you don't mind. And then I'll ask Mr. Bogue to read Councilmember Duncan, or Councilmember Riddell's proclamation. We'll start with Councilmember Allen.
It's my pleasure to read this proclamation honoring and thanking Mayor Pro Tem Denise Allen for her service to the city of Yucaipa. Whereas on November 2nd, 2004, the residents of Yucaipa elected Denise Allen to the Yucaipa City Council. And whereas Denise was reelected in 2008, 2012, and 2016, serving a total of 16 continuous years as a city council member. And whereas on December 10th, 2012 to December 8th, 2014, she was appointed to serve as mayor by her fellow council members. And whereas during her tenure, Denise actively served her community on numerous local and regional committees, which include the American Viticultural Area Planning Committee, Aquatic Facility Ad Hoc Committee, City of Calamasa Ad Hoc Council Committee, alternate member, City Public Facilities Needs Assessment Ad Hoc Committee, Crafton Hills College Facilities Committee, Crafton Hills Open Space Conservancy, Economic Development Advisory Committee, Finance Committee, Healthy Yucaipa Committee, Housing Authority, League of California Cities Legislative Delegate, San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water Advisory Committee, alternate member, Successor Agency, Youth Advisory Committee, Yucaipa Calamasa Joint Unified School District Ad Hoc Council Committee, Yucaipa Music and Arts Festival Planning Ad Hoc Committee, Yucaipa Performing Arts Center Concierge Ad Hoc Committee, Yucaipa Performing Arts Center Council Ad Hoc Committee, alternate member, Yucaipa Swim Team, and including whereas her years of service have been marked by her dedication to the best interest of the community, as well as her overall commitment to public safety, economic development, and aesthetic enhancement in the community through the construction of public facilities, all of which was perhaps best exemplified by her efforts to champion the historic Uptown redevelopment improvements to drainage, streetscapes, alleyways, parking lots, and street lighting, ultimately laying the foundation for the design and construction of the Yucaipa Performing Arts Center. And whereas Denise served the city in a fair, honest, and open manner, whereas voting her conscience as to what she believed to be best for the citizens of Yucaipa, which has been not only to her credit, but to the benefit of the city of Yucaipa. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Yucaipa, and on behalf of all our citizens, does hereby express its sincere appreciation and gratitude to Denise Allen for her distinguished service to the community and highly commend her for the manner in which she has carried out her duties and responsibilities.
There's actually, we'll do, if you don't mind, we'll do Mr. Riddell's proclamation, and then we also have a couple of representatives who will also want to do a proclamation. Then we'll come down and we'll offer you your plaques and other awards. Would you like to wait, or would you like to do it now? However you feel.
I'll go now.
Okay, she wants to go now.
Wow, I'm glad I wrote something because it's very emotional, and I really do appreciate this community. I want to first say that there's nothing more important than family, and I'm so happy that my family is here and that they have supported me over the past 16 years. So thinking back, I would have to say that my involvement with the Yucaipa swim team and my push to secure that 50-meter pool at Crafton Hills College, which we did, that really served as my springboard, no pun intended, into my political career. That being said, it was actually Councilman Riddell who, in the fall of 2004, encouraged me to run for an open seat on the city council. He is, as I am sure many of you know, very persuasive and determined, and he convinced me to run. He also shared his political knowledge and experience, which was invaluable in terms of navigating the mind-boggling, as a couple of new members know, election and campaign process. And we prevailed. And so I want to express my heartfelt thank you to you, our prior mayor, Mayor Riddell, for the encouragement and the support. Again, it's been an amazing 16 years. I want to thank my fellow councilmen and women with whom I have served, past members Bob Lampy, Alan Juices, Tom Masner, and Diane Smith, and I did see Diane here, as well as our current council members, Bobby Duncan, Greg Bogue, and our mayor, David Avila. I thank you for your collegiality, as well as your respect and your trust. We always have worked well together, and while we have, as they have said, different in opinions, I believe that those differences have been our strength as a decision-making body for this city. I want to thank our amazing city staff and public safety officers. They are the finest, in fact, of any city in the entire state, in my opinion. I wish you all the very best, and once again say thank you for all of the hard work you have done and continue to do each and every day on behalf of the residents of our small town. And finally, I want to say thank you to the residents of Yucaipa. Thank you for putting your faith and confidence in me and for entrusting me with your city. I have always remained fiscally responsible, conservative in fact, while all along supporting creative approaches for quality community-wide infrastructure projects and developments. I honestly believe we, all of us together, have enhanced Yucaipa's quality of life. So many accomplishments as highlighted in that amazing proclamation. Thank you. Yes, over the past 16 years, we have improved our roads, added several detention basins, low water crossings. We've expanded our open space. We've improved or expanded our recreational facilities. And we have added over 30 miles of open trails and bike lanes. I'm certain that those remarkable improvements are going to continue with our newly elected council members. All truly amazing. Most of all, I'm so proud of what we have done in our historic uptown, as was mentioned. I mean, it's really incredible, and it just keeps getting better up there. The streetscape, the roundabouts, the new businesses, with more on the way. And our amazing YPAC, as well as the addition of our community-based cultural events and festivals. I am so hopeful we can reopen the YPAC and relaunch our uptown festivals and events, and hopefully we can do that very, very soon, because I, for one, I'm ready to party. In closing, I want to say once again, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all of you that are here tonight. Keep being awesome. You see all it really takes, and some of the staff members probably know what I'm going to say, is a little bit of faith, trust, and perhaps a wee bit of pixie dust. Happy holidays, everyone, and very best in 2021.
What I'd like to do right now is ask Councilmember Bogue to read Mr. Riddell's proclamation.
All right. Honoring and thanking Council Member Dick Riddell and longest-serving Mayor Dick Riddell for his service to the city of Yucaipa. Whereas Dick Riddell served his country in the Naval Armed Guard in World War II, and whereas on June 6, 1995, the residents of Yucaipa elected Dick Riddell to the Yucaipa City Council, and whereas Dick Riddell was re-elected in 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, and 2016, serving a total of 25 continuous years as a city council member. And whereas on December 9th, 1996, to December 8th, 2008, December 8th, 2008, and again December 12, 2016, he was appointed to serve as mayor by his fellow council members. And whereas during his tenure, Dick actively served his community on numerous local and regional committees, which include the American Legion, the California Oak Foundation, Crafton Hills Open Space Conservancy, Economic Development Advisory Committee, Finance Committee, Fire Services Ad Hoc Committee, Five Winds Ranch Advisory Committee, Garden of Angels Advisory Board, Knights of Columbus, Little League Manager, Omnitrans Board of Directors, Omnitrans Planning Committee, San Bernardino Association of Governments Board of Directors, Sandbag, Major Projects Committee, Sandbag Plans and Programs Committee, San Bernardino County Flood Control Advisory Commission, School Volunteer, Yucaipa Valley Chamber of Commerce Ad Hoc Committee, Yucaipa Valley Conservancy, Yucaipa Historical Society, Yucaipa Redevelopment Agency, Veterans of Foreign Wars. Did you get all that? Whereas his years of service have been marked by his dedication to the absolute best interest of the community, as well as overall contributions to creating sustainable, fiscally responsible, and well-planned community through the construction of many projects, including the Oak Glen Road I-10 interchange that helped develop an efficient transportation corridor into the city of Yucaipa. Dick was instrumental in facilitating the project advancement agreement, which enabled the intersection to be constructed using City of Yucaipa funding, partially reimbursed through Measure I funding, ultimately resulting in the project being constructed years ahead of schedule. And as a longtime advocate of transportation planning and efficient public transit, Dick's support and contribution to the planning, design, and construction of Yucaipa's Transit Center is another among many significant projects and programs throughout the Inland Empire that are both notable and enduring examples of public service. And whereas his unmatched commitment to the preservation of open space in perpetuity was instrumental in the formation of the Wildwood Canyon State Park, as well as the El Dorado Park. Whereas Dick has served the city with a proactive, ethical approach to public service and a dedication to leading by example, which has been not only to his credit, but to the benefit of the city of Yucaipa. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Yucaipa, and on behalf of our citizens, does hereby express a sincere appreciation of gratitude to Dick Riddell for his distinguished service to the community and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out his duties and responsibilities over the last 25 years. Thanks, Dick.
Mr. Riddell, it's your option. We do have a couple more people who'd like to offer proclamations to you and Councilmember Allen. If you'd like to wait until you receive those proclamations to say something, or if you'd like to say something now, here's your opportunity.
Well, whichever you prefer.
You're dealing the cards, sir.
Well, I'll be very brief now. Maybe I'll say some more later, but most of everything has been said. I could probably elaborate on some of that, but one thing that hasn't been mentioned is I served on the Planning Commission prior to being on the City Council, which was a good preparation for serving on the City Council. My tenure, I wasn't part of the first City Council member, but the citizens encouraged me to run, so I became on the City Council before really anything had been done within the city. And I'm proud of the fact that during my tenure, all the buildings, civic buildings, community buildings, plus most of our roads, 13 of our water crossings, and much more has been constructed during my tenure. But one thing is you don't do anything alone. You can't accomplish anything alone. The only way to get things done is to try to encourage the rest of the council members and listen to them. Everybody has good suggestions, good intentions. I enjoyed working with some wonderful people, including those that are here tonight. Denise Allen, I served with her for 16 years. And like she said, I encouraged her to run for the council in the first place. She was president of the Yucaipa swim team at the time, and I was impressed with the job and her leadership ability and her ability to get things done there. And I've served with some wonderful council members. Diane Smith was wonderful, Bob Lampe, these people here. Alan Druses, who I served with for 16 years, was a great, I thought he was a very intelligent guy and came up with some very innovative ideas, and I really enjoyed working with him. I did serve for 22 years on the board of directors for Omnitrans, and I served as their chairman of the board of directors, and also over 20 years on Sandbag and on many committees there. And through the connections I made there, I was able to bring much grant money into the city. And also I was good friends with our two congressmen, both Davis and Paul Cook, and got great things done through them as well. And the way you get things done is through other people. You can't do anything yourself. You really have to get things done through other people. And one thing that, well, there's several things I'm proud of. I'm proud of the fact that all we've accomplished, like has been mentioned before, and this isn't my fault, it's all the city council, that we're leaving the city in good shape. We're debt-free. All that we've done and we've accomplished without going into debt. We got money in the bank. We've got a healthy bank account. And part of that, and most of that probably, is due to the staff. We have the best staff, and Denise mentioned this, but I can say without a fact, because I've worked with the other cities and on the council for so long, this is the best city staff in the Inland Empire. We have an outstanding and a great city manager. I was, when I was on the nominating committee on Omnitrans, when they were looking for somebody to run their major projects. And Ray Casey had his application in on that, and I was on the nominating committee. And we selected Ray Casey, and I left the meeting immediately and called our then city manager, Tooker. I says, if you want Casey, you better offer him the job right now, because within an hour or two, he's going to be offered the job on Sandbag. And fortunately, he came in as our Director of Public Works and our city engineer. And then later on, and Denise also played a part in that, we worked real hard to get him to be our city manager, and he's a great one. He's the best city manager anywhere around that I've worked with or seen in the past quarter of a century. And so one thing, we're leaving our new people a great city staff and a great city manager and a healthy bank account. And I want to congratulate our new incoming council members, especially John Trout, who is going to be serving in the district that I served. He ran a very well-constructed and aggressive campaign, and I congratulate him on his victory. And I also looking forward to Justin Beaver. I'm looking forward to working for him. I congratulate him on his victory. And I'm anxious to see we're leaving them in good shape. And I'm sure they'll do an outstanding job. But with that said, I think I'll just let it go at that. And working on the council has been a labor of love for me. Fortunately, I was retired, and I really love the city, and I was able to spend full time on this job, and I made it a full-time job. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and I loved every minute of it. And I would love to continue, but to be honest, I'm physically unable to meet the demands that this job requires. Hopefully, I just am now recovering from COVID-19, and I was very, very sick. I haven't got my strength back yet. It's been over 2 months, but I'm still kind of weak. I'm hoping I can, I'm 95 years old, so I'm lucky to be alive. But I hope I get my strength back so I can maybe serve the city in some other capacity. I'd love to do that if I could, because the type of person, I'm not going to hang them up. I've got to be doing something, and I can't think of anything I'd rather work for than the city of Yucaipa. It's a wonderful organization, and like I say, it's a wonderful staff. And I especially want to congratulate all the fellow council members I've served with. We've been very, very fortunate in the council people that we've elected here in the city. The electorate has been very careful in picking good people for the job, and I wish them the best. So with that said, I think I'll just be quiet and see what brings on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riddell. I'd like to call up now other public representatives, starting with State Senator, newly elected State Senator Rosalicia Ochoa Bogue, if she has a moment. And followed by Scott Ward, representative for Supervisor Rao. Senator, good evening. I love saying that.
Oh, good evening. It's an honor to be here. Ooh. This is personal for me. I'm here to present 2 certificates. I have the resolutions, and they won't be coming for a couple of weeks. So bear with me while I come, and I will personally deliver them to you. But for now, I have these framed certificates commending your work. And let me just really quickly start with Denise, personal friend, whom I've known for many, many years. My start working with the city was back in 2006-07 with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's how I was able to begin my relationship with both Mayor Pro Tem Denise Allen as well as Councilmember Dick Riddell. And I am so impressed and so proud of the work that you folks have done with the city. It is the part of that team that you folks have created that made possible this community, which we chose, my husband and I, Councilman Greg Bogue. For those of you who don't know, he's mine. But you folks created a community here that allowed us to choose Yucaipa as our home, as our community, and it has been an amazing and wonderful experience. There's so much that I respect, your thought process, the way that you bring people together, the fact that you folks can disagree in a respectful and civil manner. Your leadership has been exemplary and a great asset to this community. So thank you very much, both of you. Councilmember Riddell, from the moment that we met, maybe 13, 14 years ago, you have been such an absolute gentleman, such a statesman. In any of the committees that I've ever worked with that you have attended and expressed your perspective and your view, it has always been with eloquence, very thorough, and in a very respectful manner. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for what you folks, both of you, have done for the city. And in that regard, please accept our most warmest and grateful, heartfelt gratitude, not just on behalf of the California State Legislature and the Senate, but also on a personal level. Thank you for making Yucaipa an amazing community.
What we can do, if you want to stand aside for just a moment, we'll listen to Mr. Ward representing Supervisor Don Rao, and then we'll come downstairs, and then we'll offer our proclamations, and you can offer your proclamations. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I am here tonight wearing 2 hats. I am, as usual, representing 3rd District Supervisor Don Rao and the entire San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors. I'm also here as a citizen of Yucaipa. I moved here a long time ago. To put it in perspective, when I moved here, I owned a hairbrush. That's how long ago it was. And I have so appreciated the quality of life in this community, not only for me, but for my wife and my daughter. She grew up here. This is the only place she ever lived until she's just gone off to college. And she would not be the type of person that she is now without the opportunities that this city presented. And I have to thank both of you for your commitment to this community and the leadership that you have both shown. Thank you, God bless you, and I know that there are great things ahead for both of you. Mr. Riddell, I don't doubt for a second that you're not gonna jump right back in to serving this community. And after what you have survived and been through the past couple of months, it is incredible to see you here tonight. So amazing. Denise, I am seriously jealous of what's up ahead for you with all your travel plans. So I'll be looking for pictures on Facebook. I have resolutions from the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors that were unanimously approved and are virtually identical to what was read by Councilman Duncan and Bogue. So in the interest of time, I will not reread all of that. I will tell you, I will skip down to the last paragraph. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of San Bernardino, State of California, does hereby express sincere appreciation and gratitude to Dick Riddell and Denise Allen for distinguished service to the community and highly commends them for the manner in which they have carried out their duties and responsibility. So it is my pleasure to present both of these resolutions on behalf of the Board of Supervisors.
Very good. We'll go ahead, go downstairs to receive our they can receive their proclamations, and we'll get our group picture one more time.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you may have one more speaker in the audience or no? No? Okay, I think we're
Two. Is
covered.
there another speaker?
I think we're covered.
Someone else
Thank you.
wishes to speak? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll go downstairs. If you'd like to go ahead and give the, and then Scott and Senator. Yes, please stand up. That's it. Is that it? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 5-minute break or so. So thank you, if you don't mind bearing with us for the next few minutes. Well.
This is a bit much honorable.
If you got a moment, my shoes, I think. So do I. No, not really. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
the person.
We have a lot. And you needed that hair from. Sorry.
Yes, sir. I don't see your line. Oh, is that Joseph? I think it is. Do we have public comment? Do we have comments? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting the meeting here any second. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting the meeting here in about 10 seconds, so find your seats. Make sure you have your popcorn and soda already in hand. All right, welcome back. We're going to go on to the next item on the agenda, and that is going to be the swearing in of our 2 new council members, very exciting, and welcoming back one of our incumbents. So at this time, I would like to bring up newly elected council member Justin Beaver and John Thorpe up here to the front. And also invite Mayor Duncan, Council Member Bobby Duncan there. Also, if there's any family members, this will be the swearing in ceremony. If there's any family members that would like to join the council members, they're more than welcome to. Okay, who will be administering the oath of office? Ms. Crawford?
Apologize. At this time, please raise your right hand. And then and then please state your name one at a time. Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. I do. Congratulations, all 3 of you.
I would like to invite our new council members to the dais. John, something real fast. Where are we going to sit? Huh? Where are we going to sit? Just in your normal spot. For now? For now.
And you may move shortly, but this will get you started.
Where's Justin?
Yeah, this is Justin.
John, you're at least temporarily in the second seat. Thank
May
you, sir.
move shortly.
Right here, dude. Hey. Justin, congratulations, sir. Thank you. Your seat will be right here, at least temporarily. Well, here they are. These may be the last time you see their smiling eyes. And before we move any further, I would be remiss if I did not recognize Josie Gonzalez, who's been a longtime county supervisor for San Bernardino. She is a wonderful human being, and she has recently fulfilled her term. She's termed out as a county supervisor, and she enjoyed being the chairperson, I think it was last year. A wonderful person. Let's have a fast round of applause for acknowledgement for her service. Okay, now we're going to move on to now we're going to duly appointed mayor and council member business reports. Anything to report? Hearing none. Move on to item number 5, the subject of city council reorganizations. The city manager, Jennifer Crawford, introduced the agenda report and declared nominations open for the office of mayor and mayor pro tem. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor Avila. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2018-46, which is the council rules and procedures, in years in which there's a general municipal election that is scheduled, the mayor and mayor pro tem shall be conducted no later than this meeting here in December. Nominations of the office of mayor and mayor pro tem may be made by any member of the council and need not be seconded in order to be effective. Nominations will be received. Following the nominations, I will read back each nomination and call for a vote. Selection shall be made by 3 or more affirmative votes. Also, a council member shall not serve successive terms as mayor. At this time, I will open the nominations for the office of the mayor. Is there a nomination?
Before we go there, I would just like to say something real fast. I am serving 1 year, and as you know, 2020 has been a very tumultuous year, not just with COVID, but also the BLM thing that invaded our town for some time, and then we had this huge fire that occurred in Yucaipa, and to say the least, it's been a very much of a Uncle Toad's or Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland. But I am thankful for the opportunity, and I'm thankful for the sitting council to have nominated and elected me or appointed me to be mayor for 2020. And with that, I look forward to, in my eyes, I'd like to nominate, if Mr. Duncan hasn't already thought of that, about this, to nominate Mr. Bogue as mayor.
We don't need a second on that, do we?
No.
Well, just at this point, I'll ask if there's any other nominations. Hearing none, at this time, the nomination by Councilmember Avila is to nominate Councilmember Greg Bogue as the mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
That sounded unanimous to me.
I have to vote for myself?
It's, well, if you're not comfortable.
Okay, aye.
Okay, so Greg Bogue has been selected by a majority vote as the mayor of the city of Yucaipa. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
At this time, I will open the nominations for mayor pro tem. Is there a nomination?
I would like to nominate Bobby Duncan as mayor pro tem.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor of Bobby Duncan becoming mayor pro tem?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember Duncan has been selected by a majority vote to be mayor pro tem.
Congratulations to Mr. Mayor and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. At this time, as my final act, I'd like to call for another 5-minute break so that we can get to our new seats.
Can I say something really quick?
Yes.
Is that okay? He did beat me to the punch, but David Avila has been an incredible mayor this last year. To think about, I keep thinking, if he knew what he was getting into last December for 2020, he had no idea. And going through the fires, and he's been on national news for all kinds of issues, and he really stepped up, and he did an incredible job, and it was a really tough situation. It was quite often in a no-win situation. No matter what he said, he was critiqued and criticized, but I think he did a great job. He was the right man for the right time. So thanks, David.
Much. Okay, let's take another 5 minutes so we can reorg. Item 12, item 14, 14, and 14. For the items. This one's 12 and these are 14.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I can jack it up as well as anybody.
Wherever you want me.
Get your copy.
I don't have to sanitize you, you're gonna stay on the same.
Perfect. Thank you. I feel sanitized even more.
Yeah, go to the side here.
I'll get you
It'd be the mayor emeritus position.
Whose water is that? Me? I got 2 waters.
We're just gonna sanitize for you guys real quick here. I'm gonna sanitize your seat too.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna clean your area.
Miss Sarah Martinez, how are you?
How are you?
Okay, I'll plug you back in.
Just your area here real quick for you, sir. Does that feel clean enough for you?
Works for me.
You doing good?
It's always good to see you.
Am I sitting here or do I sit here?
I don't know.
Aw.
I guess it doesn't
See,
matter.
I think the same about you, and not just because you signed my paychecks.
But it helps.
It helps.
Are you good with your cable or you want me to move it right here?
Well, that was one of my favorites.
All right, I'll move it.
That's who I'm.
She was passing you.
Mr. Ellen?
I love you guys. All right, well, we'll start again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Get out of your way. Else is in the same spot. All right, we're good.
I gotta remember how to do all this.
At least you had practice. I didn't have any practice.
I'll be, keep me in line. Feels like it's been a while.
Mr. Mayor, is this yours?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Time should I give them?
Do I?
You're in Greg's seat. Guess he's got you and us spaced out here, huh?
I don't have Denise to keep me in line, so you guys better,
We're the ones poking you.
all right.
If I don't fall asleep.
You know what? When you go from there to there, it's like the greatest thing ever.
It's
All
happy
right.
working.
So should we bring this meeting back to order?
Hey, my speaker don't work. It is on. Yes, ma'am. I'll move over one. Huh? Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
I've been using that one.
Mine's not on either.
Is yours on?
No.
Yeah, you're hot.
Okay, we're on now.
Yeah, well, yeah. I have a, yeah, okay. All right, we will now call the meeting back to order. Let's get this show on the road. Right, so that takes us to item number 6, and I'm going to let Jennifer do a quick explanation on item number 6. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2014-81, it is that time to select and appoint individuals to the various committees and commissions for a 2-year cycle. We have distributed this evening a new revised Exhibit A, which represents a couple different things because we had people applying late or turning in things late, and then we also have people remote on the phone that are highlighted in yellow that are attending via teleconference if you have any questions specifically for them. So you'll see the people highlighted in yellow are the ones on the telephone this evening. So at this time, Mayor Bogue, I will hand it back over to you for the various recommendations, 1 through 8, that are highlighted in the staff report.
All right, so looking at Exhibit A, it looks like the American Viticulture Area Planning Committee has 3 at-large vacant positions. And it looks like we have 3 applicants. Is there a 4th? There's not a 4th? Okay. So with that, do you guys have any objections to appointing the 3?
I make a motion that we appoint the 3 that are listed here on our staff report.
Okay, we have a motion for these 3. Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Should we just do this one at a time? We'll just do it
Completely
one
up
at a
to
time.
you.
We'll do it
I'd
one
like
at a
to-
time.
I'd like
So we
to
have a first and a second for the 3 for the Viticulture Area Planning Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that takes us to the Healthy Yucaipa Committee. We have 7 vacant positions, and we have 5 applicants. So anyone opposed to appointing all 5?
I'd like to nominate all 5, and I'd like to say that the selection was very comprehensive. There's some highly qualified people that applied for the position.
Okay,
I'll second.
you have a second? So we have a first and a second.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, technically speaking, each council member appoints 1 member, and then the council will appoint 2 at-large members. That's the way that committee is.
Is that
set
way
up.
that committee is run?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll start off by appointing Brianna Beaver. Unless that was what you wanted to appoint.
Mr. Mayor, you have all the honors, sir.
I'll nominate Catherine Broyles.
I'll nominate Michael Huron. Is that right? Huron?
And I'll nominate Meredith Sherwin.
And I'll nominate Laura Sims.
All right. So with that, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept those nominations.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that moves on to the Mobile Home Rent Review Commission. There are 5 vacant positions. These are these council-specific? Or are these
Yeah.
at large?
No, they're council-specific based on the most recent biennial review.
Okay.
I'll nominate Brandy Gomez, District 1.
I think I nominated William Reagan.
Okay. So as of right now, we don't have enough to fill that committee. So if anyone does not get on any other committee, there isn't a few vacant positions on the Mobile Home Rent Review Commission. But with those 2, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the 2 that have been nominated.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? All right, moving right along, we have the Parks and Rec Commission. We have 5 vacant positions, and I believe these are council-specific. Is that correct? Okay.
District 1, I'd like to nominate Doug Witham.
I nominate Darren Espiritu.
My nomination, actually, it was an issue that I had with advising her to the application process, so I don't see her on here, but it was Shelley Ewell.
Yeah, she is.
She's in the handout that was distributed tonight.
Okay. Shelley Ewell.
I'd like to nominate Diane Smith for District 4.
Okay. John, do you have one?
I'll nominate Tim Carlisle.
Tim Carlisle. Okay. All right, so we have those 5 filled. Is there a motion to accept those 5?
A motion.
We have a motion?
Second.
Second, we have a motion. A first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moving to Planning Commission, we have 7 vacant positions, 5 which are council-specific and 2 at-large.
For District 1, I'd like to nominate Aaron Wolf.
I'll nominate J.R. Allgauer.
I will nominate Lloyd Rexted.
I'd like to nominate Richard Beck. I'd like to nominate Tony Hicks.
Tony Hicks, okay. All right, so that's that, and then we have 2 at-large positions. And I would, if I may, I'd like to advise that perhaps we could pick Bart Razee. Is anyone opposed to Bart Razee?
No, I'm not. No, I think it's okay. And how about Chris Markarian again?
So Bart Razee, Chris Markarian, are there any, Bob, do you have any recommendations?
I'd like to see Stacy Chester.
Okay. Mr. Thorpe or Councilmember Thorpe? Any suggestions on the at-large position?
Christopher Markarian.
Chris Markarian. And a second?
What, oh,
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
No,
Yeah.
I'll second Chris Markarian.
Okay. So we have how many for Chris and 2 for Bart? Right, so what are our numbers at this point? We have 2 for Bart Razee, 3 for Chris Markarian, okay?
Is that right? We
No,
have
no, I
3?
believe your nominee, Mr. Brzee, is okay. The contest is between Stacy Chester and Chris Markarian. I nominated Chris Markarian, he seconded it, and then he seconded it, so there was a little confusion there, but right now, there was no second for Stacy Chester unless I misunderstood that.
So was there a motion for Markarian and
That
Bart?
was my recommendation.
Okay, so then is there a second for that?
Originally, it was Mr. Thorpe.
Okay. You guys have that? You do now, okay,
So,
all right, all right.
Do we need to take a vote?
So we'll take a vote. So all in favor of the motion?
Chris Markarian?
Chris Markarian and Bart Razee? And then each individual council member position or pick, correct? Okay.
Aye.
Does that
Aye.
make sense? Okay, aye.
I think. What?
Well, each individual city council member had their own. And then we had Chris Markarian and Bart Razee on the table. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. Clear as mud, right? All right, so moving right along. So the Public Arts Committee, we have 5 vacant positions. Are these all at large or are these specific? Okay, any suggestions?
Well, I'd like to nominate Claire Teeters and Kit Satry, for sure.
Okay. Claire and Kit. I'd like to nominate Lillian Vasquez.
Valerie Applegate.
Valerie Applegate, okay.
Brandy Gomez.
And Brandy Gomez, is that 5?
And that's, and Bob Norris.
Well, we can only have 5, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1, 2, well,
That's
there's
5.
4 nominated.
Bobby voted for 2.
Which 2?
I said Claire Teeters and Kit second.
Oh. Okay.
But if I only get one, I'll nominate Claire.
Claire? Okay, so we have Claire, Lillian. David, who was yours?
Bob Norris?
Bob Norris. Mr. Beaver,
Brandy Gomez, or
what was that?
Brandy.
Brandy, okay. And Councilmember Thorpe?
Valerie Applegate.
Valerie Applegate, okay. Does anyone want to make a motion on those 5?
I'll make a motion that we accept those 5 nominations.
A second.
All right, so we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so moving right along, we have Trails and Open Space Committee. So we have 9 vacant positions. So we have, I know we have 4 at large and the rest are council specific.
For District 1, Candy Kanzler.
District 2, I'll pick Dee Dee Chudy.
District 5, Christine Muller.
Who was it?
Christine.
Christine Muller.
Oh, you got Christine? Okay. 4?
For Chris Eman.
Who is that?
Chris Eman.
Chris Eman, okay.
Okay. And I'll nominate Kathy Utley.
You want to take a vote on let's just take a vote on those 5 first. So is there a motion for those 5? And then we'll do the at-large.
A motion to push those 5.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so now we need to pick 4 at-large.
I think Mike Bagg ought to be on the Trails and Open Spaces Committee for sure.
I agree.
I agree. Anyone else? Any other suggestions?
I nominate Catherine Barton. Recommend me.
Catherine Barton, okay. I can pick Ellen Benefeld.
Actually, she withdrew,
Oh, she withdrew.
despite my efforts. She withdrew anyway.
Okay.
Mark Miles is a good choice.
Mark Miles. That's 3, right? We have 1 more.
I'm missing this. Who? I have Daniel Morgan, Richard, Robert Richmond, Rebecca Getz.
Yep.
Did we nominate her?
We have Mike, the way I see it, we have Mike Bagg.
The ones that we've already appointed.
Catherine Barton.
So for the at-large positions, we're looking at Michael Bagg, Catherine Barton, what was the other one?
Mark Miles.
Mark Miles.
so far.
Mark Miles?
Mark Miles and
Daniel Morgan.
Daniel Morgan. Okay, is there a motion for those 4?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to fill those 4 at-large positions. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so moving on to the Vector Control Committee. We have 3 vacant, I believe those are at-large positions. And we have 2 applicants.
I make a motion that we accept the nomination of Mike and John to the Vector Control Committee.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a first and a second for Mike and John. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so if you did not get in on a committee and you'd like to sit on a committee, we do have open spaces, not open space committee, but we have open spots for our committees. And if you'd like to participate, please, fill out an application and we will find something for you. All right, so moving right along, that takes us into, is there anything else, Jennifer, on this one? All right, so that takes us to item number 7, and I believe this is also Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a 2021 membership on council committees, regional organizations, and ad hoc committees. This process is conducted annually City staff has reviewed the list of committees in these organizations, and we are making one recommendation to rename the Fire Services Ad Hoc Committee to the Public Safety Ad Hoc Committee to address both fire and police-related issues. In addition, staff recommends that council review the list of committees and organizations and ad hoc committees and revise as appropriate the 2021 assignments. That's all I have.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with item number 2 first. Is that okay? We will consider renaming the Fire Services Ad Hoc Committee to the Public Safety Ad Hoc Committee. You guys,
I'll move to approve it. It's a separate motion.
I'll second.
all right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, further discussion? Do you have anything, any input?
I just think it's something that the city is justified in doing. I think it's paramount for our public health and our city's, sustainability to keep that dialogue open on all things public safety, not just fire. So I think it's a good thing that we have that.
Okay, great. Mr. Thorpe, do you have anything on that? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so now we get to review the current membership on various councils. And I guess we'll start at the very top here. The council committees, you guys see those? Let's start with the American Viticulture Area Planning Committee. It's currently Bobby. Mr. Duncan. Does anyone else want to sit on this committee?
I'll go ahead and throw my hat in that ring.
Okay.
You
Mayor
said-
Pro Tem, do you want to still continue on the Viticulture Area Planning Committee?
Yes,
Okay, so we have those two.
unless one of these other gentlemen would like to take that slot. I mean, it's up to you. I don't want to hog them all.
I'll defer to you, sir.
We'll find something for you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the next one is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee. That is Mr. Duncan and myself. I can continue on that. I don't think we meet very often. I don't remember the last time we've met. Unless one of you guys want to be on it.
No, I think you're good because it's more in your wheelhouse.
Okay. Do you have anything, Bob?
No, I don't, we haven't met quite a while, have we?
No, it's been a while.
Do one of you gentlemen want to take that? I mean, it's up to you. I'll stay if you don't want to go.
All right, we'll stick with as is. All right, so moving to Economic Development Advisory Committee, that's EDAC. It's currently Mayor Pro Tem Duncan. And I guess I was the alternate, but I think this would be something you guys might want to sit on. It's a great learning experience.
I agree.
What day does that, what day of that's a Thursday, right? The last Thursday, second Thursday?
The first Thursday of the month.
First Thursday of each month is when we meet? No, every other month.
Every other month.
Yeah. So did you guys get that?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind serving on the Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Okay. So, Councilmember Beaver, anyone else? Were you going to continue?
Yeah, I'll continue unless John wants it.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll take it.
And I can continue to be the alternate unless, John, you want to be the alternate
For the,
for the EDAC. We'll just continue.
I don't mind being the alternate,
You want to be the alternate? Okay.
unless you want to be on there.
No, that's fine. You can be the alternate. All right, so we have Finance Committee with 2 members. We need to fill both of these.
Both of them,
Yeah.
I think this would be a good opportunity for one of the new council members, at least one, to be on to learn another aspect of the finance of the city. So I would recommend that one of you or both jump in, and this is a good way to learn what's going on.
Yeah, I would like to be on
Inside.
this. I would like to be
Okay.
on this one.
Well, we also have an alternate. This arises when someone goes out of town, you need someone else to be there, so.
I'll do it as well. I can be alternate.
You want to be the alternate?
Fine.
All right, I'll be the second, unless you want to be the
You go.
other
How are
member.
you?
Yeah, okay. So it's Councilmember Beaver, and then myself, and then John. I'm trying to get these names right. I'm trying to. It'll take me a while. Okay. So are we good there? Vector control. We have Mr. Duncan, Mr. Avila.
Healthy
Oh, I
Yucaipa.
just jumped, sorry. Healthy Yucaipa. We have Mayor Pro Tem Duncan, and then we need another one. Who's the healthiest guy here?
It's not me, but maybe that's why I should be on it.
All right,
I throw my hat in that ring.
all right. Okay, so Solid Waste Committee. We have myself and council. Did I skip another one?
Is Mayor Pro Tem Duncan staying on Healthy Yucaipa? Or is Avila taking that and we're getting an alternate?
I offered the
okay.
alternate.
You're the alternate?
You want to just be the alternate?
Sure, unless, 'cause I assume that that Councilmember Duncan, Mayor Pro Tem Duncan wanted to be the primary.
I'm good with it unless somebody
Okay.
else wants it.
No?
I'm not very healthy, but I'll try harder.
All right, so we're good there. Solid Waste Committee. I've been on there a number of years. If someone else would like to serve on. I actually enjoy being on the committee, but I wouldn't mind being on.
I'm good with the way it sits.
Okay. Is everyone good with solid waste?
I'm good with
That didn't come out very well, did it? I know, I need to stop talking. All right. You guys are terrible. All right, Vector Control Committee.
I'm good with staying on the committee,
All
unless
right.
somebody else wants it, but it's mostly in my district anyway,
It's
so.
mostly in your district. Do any of the newbies want to be on there? Or
You guys want to?
Yeah, I'll take Mayor Pro Tem Duncan's spot on that one, on the Vector
on
Control.
Vector Control? Okay. Don't be afraid to speak up, Councilmember Thorpe. There's lots of waiting
Yeah,
for
you have to join us here and take
All
your
right.
share.
All right, so Youth Advisory Committee. I would actually like to be on the Youth Advisory Committee.
Yeah, okay.
Does
I think that's a great idea.
anyone else want to be on? Do you want to continue, or is?
In the spirit of being the youngest councilman, I'll also join you on that committee.
Okay. Unless, Mr. Thorpe, are you interested in the?
I'm interested, but it might be a little bit of a time conflict on that one for me.
Okay. All right. Five Winds Ranch Improvement Advisory Committee.
I don't mind staying on.
Okay, so we need another.
I'll do it.
All right. Mr. Thorpe and Mr. Avila. So Crafton Hills Open Space Conservancy.
Would you like to move up from the alternate to the primary?
I've been on the alternate for years and years, and I've never been to that. So it doesn't, I'm definitely not versed in the.
I can, since it's.
Unless you want to do it.
Yeah, it ties in with the Five Winds Ranch.
Okay.
You know, I don't mind being on it.
All right, then you take spot there. And then we get into the regional, we got Omnitrans. David, do you? I can, unless someone else wants to be the alternate. Does someone want to be the alternate for the Crafton Hills?
I will. I can.
David.
David is now.
All right. All right, so moving on to Omnitrans. I know Mr. Avila's been there for a while, and then Mr.
I would like to maintain the position. Currently, I am chairman of the board. It's kind of a big deal. My term as chairman or chairperson of the board of Omnitrans expires in June. And I did talk to Mr. Duncan. He expressed an interest. But as I said, I'm kind of up to my knees right now in different projects, and I'd like to at least see them through, including the zero-emission buses that we have, and then the Redlands Railway, and as well as a couple of other smaller, but nonetheless relatively important to me. And I'd like to continue to, in that spot, to at least see those through, if not to June, to the end of the year.
Okay.
And continue to make Mr. Duncan the alternative I would recommend, and then give him opportunities to attend the meetings, especially after June, and he can work his way into that, because I know, Bobby, you've expressed an interest, and which I don't mind, but, you know, you can work your way into that and go to the meetings in my stead after my term as chairperson is up. So that's my plea to stay on Omnitrans.
So that kind of coincides with the SBCTA, does it not?
It does. It's not unusual for two different people to be on the different boards. I will say, you know, I'm not married to any of these positions. You know, it's an appointment, obviously, but there are some things, including the Wildwood interchange, which is kind of an important deal for us, and been trying to work with other board members and getting that. I'd like to kind of see that through. But again, I'm not married to it. If someone else, if Mr. Duncan really, really wants that, I can move aside, but,
You can go ahead and keep it.
okay, thank you, sir.
Does anyone have any objections to keeping Councilmember Avila on those two? No?
No.
Okay. Are we good there? All right, San Bernardino Valley Municipal
Mr.
Water.
Mayor, so Mayor Pro Tem Duncan would stay as alternate on both of those as well?
He's the alternate, yes.
Thank you.
The San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water Advisory Committee. That's Mayor Pro Tem Duncan. Are you good there?
I'm good with that.
Anyone like to be the alternate?
I would.
Okay.
Who said that?
Thorpe,
John?
me.
You wanna be on that, or?
Doesn't, I can be an alternate if you want
No,
to do
but-
it full
but
time.
Well, you guys can still switch as needed, right?
Either way.
If you want. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Solid Waste Advisory Task Force. I need to be careful what I
I
say.
know. Are you good with being on a task force still?
I can continue the task force, yes.
And the
So,
alternate is,
The alternate is Jennifer.
huh,
It works well.
oh.
All right, so SCAG, David, you are on SCAG. Is anyone else, do you like being on SCAG? Does anyone else want to be on SCAG?
I only meet once a month.
You have to travel to LA, don't you?
Travel to Los Angeles, yeah, and it's pretty much an all-day thing. It's the first Thursday, I think, in downtown LA.
So anyone else interested in traveling to LA?
No.
No one's jumping at it, huh? All right. So David, you're still there, okay. CHC Ad Hoc Committee, that is the Crafton Hills College. You want to take that one? I can continue with the alternate, unless someone else would want it. City of Calamasa Ad Hoc Council Committee, I can continue there unless someone else would like.
Do you need an alternate?
No, we need a second
We
person.
need
I
a
think you'd be
second
perfect.
person.
I'm sorry?
I think you'd be perfect as a
I do
second
too, I
person.
think you should be there.
Okay,
All right.
I'm interested.
All right, so Yucaipa Calamasa Ad Hoc Council.
I guess
Committee?
officially, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you are
remain
the alternate. You're the alternate, yes. Sorry. Yucaipa Calamasa Joint Unified School District. I'd like to continue there. Anyone else? We have another open spot. You have kids in school, right? All right. That qualifies you. Yeah, not in school.
Hopefully soon.
Yucaipa Valley Water District and General Water Issues Council Committee, I'm there. Mr. Duncan, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Fire Service Ad hoc, we actually changed the name of this one, so we do have firemen and police officers here, so.
I don't mind going. I've been both. Unless you guys want to do it, I don't mind. I'm just,
I'd be interested.
Okay,
okay.
I'd like to do this as well.
the two of you? All right, sounds good. Chamber of
Wait,
Commerce.
So Councilmember Beaver and Councilmember Thorpe are going to be on the ad hoc, on the committee?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, very good.
All right, Yucaipa Valley Chamber of Commerce Ad hoc Committee, we have Mr. Duncan, and we need another. I could be on that one. Yucaipa Homeless Ad hoc Committee,
I'm good with staying on. We don't meet anymore.
okay. You okay, Bob?
I'm okay.
Okay. Small Business Incubator Selection Committee, there's the two of us. I don't normally meet with them, I know Bob does.
I've been quite involved in that.
You've been very active. I would
Unless
ask
someone
that
wants
you
to be
stay
the
on.
alternate, so. I'll move on, unless, tell me if you want to be the alternate. Yucaipa Performing Arts Center, Entertainment Committee. I'd like to continue on this one. Anyone else?
I'd be interested.
You like rock and roll? That's the qualification.
More of a country person.
Or country.
Or
I'm
jazz.
kidding, I'm just kidding. I'm
Country.
kidding, I'm kidding.
Big country.
I'm kidding. All right, so I think that's it. Do we need to make a motion on all of these? Jennifer, do we need a motion for all of these, or we're good as is?
I'd suggest a motion accepting all of those assignments, appointments.
So we do need a motion?
Yes, I'd recommend you do that.
Okay.
please.
I'll make a motion that we accept all of those appointments.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a first and a second. Any discussion, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that takes us to item number 8. This is acceptance of contract work for emergency repair, and this is by Landon.
Good evening, Mayor Bogue and all members of City Council. This report before you is for the contract work performed recently by the crossing of the Dunlap Channel at Kentucky Street. Earlier this year, following several storm events, there was a sinkhole that opened up, and we approached the repairs in a phased approach. The location of the sinkhole originally opened up at this location, and we pursued to approach the initial phase of the repairs with some input from our geotechnical on-call consulting group, where we were able to open up this area, backfill it with a concrete slurry mixture, and after further investigations with our geotechnical team, developed some plans and specifications for the phase 2 of the approach, which consisted of constructing an 8-foot deep concrete cutoff wall up at the upstream section of this drainage crossing to prevent the water and storm events and from nuisance flows from bypassing that riprap, grouted riprap section above the 2 storm drain pipes that cross Kentucky Street there. Again, it was the scope of this project was constructing that cutoff wall, and then there were also some voids in the riprap section. So that entire section there was re-grouted to reinforce that effort. The project was awarded at the City Council meeting to Jeremy Harris Construction on August 10th, and the work was complete. In fact, this is a pretty recent aerial photograph that was taken. So what we're looking at here is the end result of this project, and there's actually some water flowing down from the Redlands water well up near 15th Street and Yucaipa Boulevard that outlets basically every morning. So you can see that it's functioning quite well. The work under the contract was completed in accordance with the plans and specifications that were prepared, and With that, staff recommends items 1 through 3 as written in the agenda report be approved, and staff is available if you have any questions.
All right, so are there any questions for staff?
Not me.
Anyone?
I make a motion that we approve.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All right, so any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Moving along to item number 9.
Mr. Blackerby will be presenting
My-
this item, Mr. Mayor.
All this technology is doing me great here. Anyways. All right, number 9, which is the Capital Improvement Program Budget Amendment.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. During a recent review of capital improvement projects, city staff has identified an opportunity to expedite a cash receipt to the city in the amount of approximately $1.2 million. The receipt in question is a reimbursement for expenditures related to the Yucaipa Boulevard 15th Street to Freeway project. These expenditures are eligible to be reimbursed by Measure I, but were previously budgeted to be spent from other funding sources. This recommendation tonight reallocates funding sources previously budgeted to allow staff to request reimbursement for these expenditures from Measure I. Measure I is administered by the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, or SBCTA. City staff has been in communication with SBCTA regarding other reimbursements already in process for other expenditures from this very same project. So SBCTA has already completed a preliminary review of this $1.2 million in expenditures and has already deemed them eligible for reimbursement. Therefore, staff anticipates a reimbursement request to SBCTA for this amount to be processed quickly. Because these expenditures were previously budgeted to be spent from other funding sources, in order to submit to SBCTA for reimbursement, staff is recommending a simple swap of previously budgeted funding sources between two projects, the Yucaipa Boulevard 15th to Freeway project mentioned, and the Avenue E Street and Sidewalk Improvement project. There would be no increase in overall budgeted expenditures in either project with this recommendation, and only an exchange of previously budgeted funding sources between the two. In essence, the Avenue E project would send $1.2 million in Measure I budget to the Yucaipa Boulevard project, and the Yucaipa Boulevard project would send $1.2 million in Prop 1B and Traffic Safety Fund budget back to the Avenue E project. This budget amendment, if approved, would allow staff to submit for reimbursement from SBCTA for these expenditures and cause this $1.2 million to arrive in the city bank account much earlier than it otherwise would. If approved, City Development Services staff will incorporate this change into a future recommendation to council for updating the 5-year Measure I Capital Projects Needs Analysis, or CPNA. That concludes the report, and staff is available for any questions you may have.
All right, so are there any questions for staff? Anyone? So, do you have something? No?
No.
Everyone's
no.
good? So this is basically just a funding swap. We're just switching funding for different projects.
Correct.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that takes us to item number 10. And is this Ray or is this Sherry?
That would be me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Item before you is extending the existence of a local emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the El Dorado fire. I'll start with the El Dorado fire. The next item on your agenda is the primary reason for continuing to extend local emergency related to the fire. Will be before you in a minute with an agreement with National Resource Conservation folks relative to flood mitigation efforts that we have begun and will be able to continue if that item is approved. But it is the primary reason for wanting to extend the existence of local emergency due to the fire, as it allows us to continue to pursue funding either through our NRCS or others, Cal OES, for example. You'll hear more about our continuing efforts in that regard. So staff would respectfully recommend and request continuing that emergency declaration for the El Dorado fire. With respect to the COVID-19 pandemic emergency declaration, a lot is evolving of late, as you know. We certainly have experienced the impacts of COVID-19, city staff, police department staff, fire staff. Our local district has been hit hard, and so we are certainly experiencing those COVID-19 related issues. Our community is certainly not, and as a whole, not immune from that as well, with some of our nursing facilities, of course, impacted early on and once again more recently with cases. And so our hospital beds are filling up, as you've, I'm sure, read in the newspaper or seen on the local news. I think our latest number is somewhere around 7 to 8% capacity in our ICU beds. So clearly impacting us locally and countywide and nationwide. At the same time, we certainly can't forget about our businesses and our need to reopen businesses at the appropriate time, the appropriate types of businesses. And with the vaccines just becoming available literally this week, it's our hope that through the prioritization process for vaccine delivery that medical employees, followed by EMTs, public safety folks, and high-risk folks in parallel order, I guess, that vaccines will become available to us as a society through December into January, to the point where many of the folks that fit those categories will have access to vaccines. And of course, not everybody will take vaccines. They're not required to take vaccines, but we do believe as time goes on through January that a percentage of those folks in that priority category will have access to vaccines. And so the staff has distributed a letter for your consideration this evening to submit to the governor's office, requesting that, number one, that outdoor dining be reopened immediately. And we've all read and heard the LA case recently that certainly echoes what we have understood, that number one, the COVID cases related to dining in general are a very small percentage of the total. And number two, there's no evidence to indicate that outdoor dining creates a risk if folks are appropriately social distancing. So part of the letter is to the governor's office is to request that outdoor dining be reopened immediately, and that that businesses be allowed to reopen as vaccines become available. Again, the need for the local emergency declaration to continue to, we're specifically asking to continue to January 11th, the next council meeting, is that the CARES Act funding that we've already obtained was related to the emergency declaration. And of course, there's some conversation at the federal level about additional CARES Act funding becoming available. As council is aware, that round of CARES Act funding that the city has received has helped considerably in primarily paying for police services, but also for some improvements to our IT technology and the council chambers and city hall in general to support online efforts, to support COVID-related guideline criteria that limit the interaction, personal interaction that we may have for some folks. So those funding elements, both for police services, IT-related improvements, and other staffing needs, including unemployment, through this COVID-19 time period, have been helpful in getting us through this what I've characterized as COVID-19 recession. So staff would respectfully recommend that we continue the local emergency through January 11th for both the COVID-19 pandemic and the El Dorado fire, and respectfully recommend that City Council sign the letter or make some suggestions this evening of changes to the letter, and that we send that to the governor's office with copies to our other state and local representatives. With that, staff is happy to answer any questions you may have this evening.
Okay, just for clarification there, in this item, it looks like we have 3 different items that we're looking at. The continuation of the emergency, the letter, and then perhaps something about right-of-way and outdoor parking that we're allocating
thank you.
funding.
Yes.
We're allocating funding to, correct?
Yeah, I missed that one entirely. I appreciate that. It's the idea of establishing outdoor parklets, perhaps in the uptown area. There may be some other locations, but perhaps in the uptown area. And some communities have converted right-of-way areas as parklets for outdoor seating, outdoor, not dining, but outdoor opportunities to pick up food and have deliveries perhaps, and use outdoor benches, outdoor tables. Maybe we add heaters in a couple locations. And so staff is recommending that as well. We think that $10,000, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, would be adequate to provide that additional furniture in those areas, outdoor furniture, and of course those that outdoor furniture would be used ongoing after the pandemic has subsided, and for outdoor use in parks and perhaps the Uptown Park as well.
Okay. All right, so with that, are there any questions for staff?
Just real fast, this is not just for the Uptown, this is throughout Yucaipa, correct?
It is.
The parklets concept.
Yeah, the concept is throughout Yucaipa. It may be a little bit more challenging to find wide enough parkways elsewhere to create the parklets, but we're open to any location that the restaurants in that particular area might be interested in working with us on.
Because there's, we always think about this side of the channel. There's businesses on the other side, including some cafes and things like that, and we want to make sure that they're aware of the opportunity and let them figure it out.
Right.
Really.
Right.
If they got a good idea, let's let it roll.
Absolutely.
I support the agenda item entirely, but just so that you know, there's actually some legislators advocating that restaurants become essential services because of what they provide to low-income communities and of that sort. So there's actually legislators out there pushing that restaurants can become essential.
That would be
essential
great.
workers, so. Anyways, go ahead.
Legislators in California?
In the state of California, there's a number of legislators that are trying to push that restaurants are essential services. Doesn't mean that it's law yet, but they're trying, so. All right, so with that, are there any other questions?
No, but I think we should explore that
Okay.
and see what we can do to help make that happen,
All right,
Good, thank you.
we'll look into it, sure.
So the only thing I would like to add is I will concur with our legislature that restaurants are essential, but as it looks like laid out in this staff report, any generator of tax revenue in our city is essential because it funds essential services in our city. Every penny of tax dollars earned help pay for the fine folks to my left, all the city staff sitting in front of the dais, and even the ability for us to sit up here today, gentlemen, with the lights on. So I agree, but I would extend it a step further that every penny generated in our city by tax revenue is essential. And by extension, I believe every business in our city is also essential on that same argument.
I agree with you there, for sure. All right, so is there a motion, or do you have something else you want to add?
No, I don't, but if no one else wants to make a motion to approve this, I'll make the motion.
And that includes the letter as written, I take it?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the letter.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that takes us to item number 11. And is this Landon?
I will be
All right.
taking this item. Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you once again. This report before you is essentially a byproduct of our continued effort to coordinate with other agencies in response to the El Dorado fire that we have mentioned in a few previous reports this evening. The watershed that was affected as a result of this fire, primarily up in the North Bench area, includes the Wilson Creek, Spore Creek, Oak Glen Creek, as well as various other local tributaries that drain through the North Bench and along Oakland Road. And as we've seen with other areas that burned like this in the state and other parts of the country, it can take approximately 5 to 7 years for an area like this to fully recover. And we've been working hard with other agencies, private property owners, San Bernardino County Flood Control District for the areas they're working on with their mitigation measures in preparation for the upcoming storm season and storm seasons in the years ahead. We've also been working closely with the Natural Resources Conservation Services, NRCS folks. There is a grant program called the Emergency Watershed Protection Program that they have primarily to deal with impairments to waterways. And this is one of the types of events like this that they cover under this program. So we've been working with them in the past few months. Quite a few field reconnaissance missions to show them the burn areas, some of our different roads and facilities in the area, those different drainage creeks and channels that drain through here, and identifying some of the problem areas that we see at risk with several different agencies that have also developed reports where we are seeing and anticipating mud flows and debris flows to occur. Is exacerbated by this fire and that ash, that layer of ash that is on the surface of the soil there, and no vegetation to hold that back. Little background here. At the October 26th City Council meeting, just a couple months ago, Council adopted Resolution 2020-64, approving the immediate expenditure of funds for public interest and necessity. Additionally, Council recommended certain mitigation measures be implemented in phases with a phased approach, and as a part of that initial phase, some measures have been implemented in accordance with that recommendation. They are taking place and have been taking place in this area at various locations. Some of those include purchasing sandbags, installing signage, and other traffic control devices by city staff and for the public to use during storm events, establishing staging areas in this part of town to make us more ready to respond in the event of a storm, and use some of those staged materials that will be placed there and have already been placed there. Purchasing and installing K-rail barriers, the concrete barriers, in select locations, and also storing them in these staging areas to line some channels and try to keep that flow that's going to be coming down through there in the channels and away from some of the public roads and other infrastructure in place. Also worked on preparing a modified work schedule for city staff during storm events and for 24-hour monitoring activities. I'll just show you here. This map before you is a map that we put together. The red dots are the hot spots where we've identified staff to be out during a storm event to monitor as that storm is occurring and keep an eye to see how things are looking out there. And additionally, the orange triangles around some of those red dots are where some of those local tributaries and even larger creeks are crossing public roadways. So in the event where we do have a large storm and we're seeing problems coming down through that fire area, these have been identified as potential areas for temporary road closures, and we're coordinating closely with the emergency services and police personnel in order to coordinate those evacuations and those temporary closures. The NRCS grant application package has been in process for some time, and we submitted our plan incorporating measures as a byproduct of our coordination effort with them and identifying the different locations that require attention. Those measures would be through a reimbursement process through this EWP, the Emergency Watershed Protection Program. There are two different programs that they offer through this EWP program. One of them is a 10-day program, which primarily is to implement urgent temporary measures to try to mitigate some of these risks. And that period is typically a 10-day period. The second type of program they have through this resource agency is a 220-day, what they call the non-exigency period. And that primarily, and it's typically incorporates larger type grading, basin, channel clearing efforts that require more design and in most cases resource agency permits because you're working within the waterways. So we have applied for both of those two different programs, both for about the same total amount. We'll be returning back to City Council with that second phase that they're still reviewing for those larger projects that will require permits from these different resource agencies to complete that work. The application that NRCS has been reviewing and has verbally let us know that it was approved was for the exigency or the 10-day program. So the agreement before you this evening is for that 10-day or exigency program only. The grant application, as I referenced, is complete and it incorporates approximately $237. I'm sorry, the non-exigency program incorporates about $237,000 for those larger efforts. The agreement before you includes mitigation measures such as K-rail placement, erosion control devices, and traffic control detour and safety measures. And together, those line items in that cost estimate that we've identified in this agreement are in the amount of $226,000 for reimbursable construction items. The notice of grant and agreement award that was received, I believe you received under separate cover tonight. The original draft that was in the report, we now have a final agreement in place, and that requires a 25% local match component, which amounts to $56,562.50. And the federal grant portion of that amount is in the amount of $186,656. That federal grant amount also includes not only the 75% of the total construction items identified in the cost estimate, but it also includes an amount on top of that for technical assistance, inspection, contract management, and coordinating with the construction companies that would be performing this work. The $185,000 in funding that has been allocated by City Council for this project will cover any necessary and required contribution costs to the EWP measures proposed with this agreement. I'll take a step back one moment and just highlight for you some of the areas, and we can certainly discuss them in more detail if you have questions. We essentially have identified several different areas, one of which is where all of the Wilson Creek watershed comes down through and crosses the Jefferson Street down here near Cherrycroft. So the program identifies some measures down here at this crossing and a little bit upstream to try to capture some of that debris that we anticipate, as well as some erosion control measures in this area. And then the other general area of the North Bench is identified in the program is up higher up, closer to the source of the fire. So we have some additional locations where we've identified similar measures just up in this area. And the approach would be to have multiple contractors working under this 10-day program to try to get as much done under this agreement as possible. The funding for this program was actually announced that it was approved by NRCS, and the clock started on this 10-day process last Wednesday, December 9th, prior to us receiving the agreement just today. So that started the 10-day clock on this program under the agreement, which technically ends on December 19th, which is this Saturday. We have been working with NRCS and letting them know some of the challenges we have with getting that work done that quickly. And we have prepared a 10-day extension request per their recommendation. And we're hopeful that they will approve that request so that this period would be extended when we get them what would be the approved agreement. That way we would have until December 29th to complete this work instead of this Saturday. So we've got that extension request ready to go. If this item were to pass tonight and we would get this approved agreement up to NRCS, we would submit the 10-day extension along with that to give us 10 more days to complete the work. With that, staff recommends items number 1 through 3 as written in the agenda report and is available to answer any questions you may have.
All right, so good presentation. Are there any questions for staff?
For council, this is in my turf, close to home. Am I, should I excuse myself on this? I didn't realize that this is going to be so close.
Yes, in an abundance of caution, I understand some of the improvements may be within the distance of your property, so it would be best to recuse on this matter.
Okay, can I stay here and just, or should I?
You should
exit?
just recuse and step out for a moment.
Okay, I apologize. After I saw this, I realized that this is, there's my intersection right there. So, excuse me while I let you
Okay.
guys
Thank you.
finish business.
Is there a difference, I don't want to take this into a debate, but is there a difference between, no, you know what, I won't ask the question right now, between safety measures and capital improvements? That's okay. Sorry. All right, so. Are there any questions for staff?
I'm not sure I understand the difference between short-term, which is the 226, and long-term, which is 237.
Yes, so.
Not sure I understood that.
As a part of our effort with the NRCS folks, we essentially have been meeting with them and we outlined for them what we felt was necessary in order to mitigate these risks. Their programs are set up in that they have a 10-day program for implementation of temporary measures that can be implemented very quickly and have a minimal level of ground disturbance, construction, grading. So placement of K-rail, erosion control, signage, traffic control, those kind of items are reimbursable through their, what they call exigency 10-day program. The projects and the measures that we've identified that involve more channel clearing to help debris from coming through the areas. We've identified some areas where potentially some grading of some basins could have an impact in helping really to mitigate the mud flows coming down, as well as some other measures. They have helped us understand that would fall under their other program, which we have more time to complete that work. And one of the reasons why they have that program is they recognize there are resource agencies like the Army Corps, California Department of Fish and Game that require the permits in order to get down in these, even the smaller drainage channels require the resource agency permits in order to do construction, even if they're temporary. So that's why we had to separate our projects into two categories. And this first 10-day one for the agreement tonight is the $226,500.
Okay. You good? Any other questions?
Yeah, is there any, as it relates to the declaration of emergency from Sacramento, is there any Cal OES assistance that we can seek on this one? I mean, this is all, if not but for this fire, we wouldn't be having this problem. And so I'm curious to know if there's any Cal OES funding or assistance or anything that we can tap into, because the state of emergency we've extended it on our end. Certainly, this is all, like I said, that legal term, if not before, this wouldn't be happening.
Yes, great question. We are coordinating with FEMA and the Cal OES folks. They're involved with the county, and we've been having meetings with them, the fire department, and other agencies locally. So we're certainly having those discussions with those representatives and opportunities for those grant funds. A lot of the FEMA process, for example, is typically more of a retroactive, more of a reimbursement after damage has occurred. But we do have another meeting scheduled with them this week. Did you want to add anything on the Cal OES?
Yeah. I've just maybe add that certainly with the firefighting itself, all of the costs associated with that, we've sought and received assistance through Cal OES and the state in general on those efforts as well.
Okay. Are you good? Okay. Councilmember Thorpe? Nothing? All right, so is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so that's going to take us to the next, I guess we have to adjourn the city council meeting. And I guess I'm in charge of the successor agency. I'll open the successor agency. And the first item of business are the meeting minutes of June 22nd.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second, but the two new council members need to recuse themselves, or no?
Just
Yes, they could recuse
Just abstain, right?
or abstain is fine.
Abstain?
Okay. All right, so,
Here.
right, you're gonna abstain. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so that takes us to item number 2 of the successor agency. And that is the reorganization of the successor agency. So I'm apparently the chairperson, so I will hand it off to whoever wants to be the chairperson of the successor agency.
Well, at this time, I'll just open nominations on your behalf for the
Okay.
office of chairperson. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Justin Beaver for the chair of the successor agency for the Yucaipa Development Agency.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor for Justin Beaver to be the chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So we have a vice,
Congratulations.
You can aye too.
now we have to do the vice chair? Oh, now the vice chair.
Yeah, so at this time, I'll open the vice chair position. Are there any other nominations or any nominations?
I'll nominate John Thorpe.
Any other nominations? Okay, I'll close nominations. All those in favor for John Thorpe?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we will now adjourn the successor agency and convene the housing authority. And we have to do approve the meeting minutes of August 10th.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, now we're moving to the reorganization of the
Just to
housing.
clarify, I'm assuming the 2 new members abstained there as well. Thank you.
All right, so we're moving to the reorganization of the housing authority.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the nominations for the chair position for the Housing Authority.
You gonna go ahead?
I'll nominate John Thorpe.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor for John Thorpe?
Aye.
At this time, I'll open the nominations for the vice chairperson.
I'll nominate Justin Beaver.
Oh, any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so now I will close the housing, well, do I close the housing authority? Do they?
The new chairs?
The new
should,
chair.
adjourn those.
So I did that out of order. Do you want?
That's okay. Justin can close the.
Yeah, so I motion to adjourn the successor agency.
All right, and I will open the city council meeting. And that takes us to public hearings. And item number 12. Get to item 12. Let's see if I can do this in order. So I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'm going to turn it over to staff for presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask that Caroline Velarde join us for the presentation. We're excited that this is our first taker for our restaurant infrastructure improvement program. And Caroline will share a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Before you this evening is the potential loan agreement with 35034 Yucaipa LLC for the city's restaurant infrastructure improvement program. This program, by way of background, this program was developed with the intent of encouraging the development of restaurants in the Uptown and was formally approved at the November 9th, 2020 City Council meeting. Under the program, the city will provide up to $30,000 in loans to approved applicants to assist with the financing of converting commercial spaces into restaurant and beverage establishments. The loan amount is determined by a match that the applicant provides. Eligible locations are those within the former redevelopment project area along Yucaipa Boulevard between Bryant and 2nd Street, and on California Street between the Boulevard and Avenue D. Other program requirements include approval by the city's planning staff for a restaurant land use, occupation of a building that is at least 2,250 square feet in size, function as a full-service restaurant with dinner service with full kitchen and wait staff, and indoor dining capacity of at least 25 seats, which may be reduced to comply with county and state requirements for dine-in restaurants to address occupancy and physical distancing. Pursuant to the approved program, City Council considers individual loan agreements with regard to development feasibility and job creation on a case-by-case basis at subsequent council meetings, which is why we are before you this evening. The applicant before us is, as stated, 35034 Yucaipa LLC, the owner of Clues Restaurant, who is actually here this evening to join us. Staff has reviewed their application and deems the applicant as eligible for the loan, having met guidelines and requirements. Pursuant to state laws, the following findings must be made, which staff finds consistent with the application in order for the city to provide funding assistance through the program. First, the program's interest rate provides a cost savings to the business owner in that market commercial loan rates are higher than the city's. Based on staff research, we found that the market rates for commercial loans are currently between 2.5% and 7%, whereas the city's rate under this program is 2%. Second, the use of the program loan is necessary because the deferral of all or a portion of the costs associated with the conversion project is necessary for the economic feasibility of the project. And finally, the program will create an economic opportunity because the business owner will create 20 to 25 new full-time equivalent jobs upon completion of the project, which far exceeds the required ratio of 1 job per $35,000 of city investment. I do want to note that the loan agreement before you is currently being revised with a couple non-substantive changes. The first is the replacement of the lien requirement with a deed of trust to secure the repayment of the city's loan, including interest. The deed of trust will be included as an exhibit in the loan agreement and subordinate to existing liens and obligations against the property, such as a loan or a mortgage. The second change is revising the agreement so it is consistent with the intent of the program, that is to provide funding assistance upon agreement execution. The version that you have before you has one provision addressing that, although, as you probably found, there are other provisions that are not consistent and mention disbursement of funds after project completion. Again, the intent of the program has always been to provide the funds to approved applicants upon loan agreement execution, not after project completion. So as is consistent with other similar programs the city has, staff is recommending the city manager or their designee be able to make non-substantive changes to the loan agreement. And if approved this evening, the 2 previously mentioned revisions will be made to the agreement. Funding for this program is made available in the Facade Improvement Program, which is budgeted in the fiscal year 2020-2021 General Fund Economic Development Budget Special Project Expenses Account. The current balance of that account is $60,000, and if approved, the remaining balance would be $30,000 to continue to be allocated for the program. That concludes my verbal report on this item. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Also, as mentioned, the applicant is here and is able to speak to you more about their project and their application should you have any questions for them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Is this the facade improvement program is a match, right? I mean, typically we give them 10,000 if they put up 10,000. Is this different than that?
This is a sister program. That is an independent program that you're referring to, which includes facade improvements with a match. But this is a lower interest loan. It happens to be the loan interest. Probably the return on our investments are somewhere in that neighborhood on average. And so it's not a low interest loan necessarily for us in terms of the revenue, but it is a low interest loan compared to the commercial market for folks that are trying to complete a restaurant. So.
All right, so the next item here is the applicant presentation, but I also have the applicant public comment. So we'll call them up. It's Kasha Shahabi, is that correct? I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. Come on up.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Good.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. So yeah, I have a, issue as far as with when COVID hit around beginning of March 17th. I thought I was kind of a good place as far as financially to get the restaurant opened up. And one of my lines of credit I remember I was driving and I went and checked on line of credit and they actually canceled it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So it was a tough deal, but we're 65-75% finished with construction already. So we're done. We're moving along really fast right now. So I'm pretty happy with what's going on. But the program you guys have is really great, because it kind of gets us past that little scary point of is it going to happen or not going to happen type thing. So if you guys have any questions for me as far as specifics, let me know. I currently have a location already in Redlands. I've had it for 5 years. This one is kind of like going to be the cousin of that first one. The Redlands location is called Cludes Kitchen and Bar. This is going to be Cludes Country Bar. So we're doing a country bar theme, and it's something I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. I'm not sure if you guys have driven by and seen it. If you're going up Yucaipa Boulevard north, on the north side, just to the left of Yucaipa. It used to be a bank, then it was a church. So, the bank vault is still in there. We're going to reuse that. It's really cool space.
Awesome. All right, are there any questions for the applicant? Do you have anything?
Just a comment that we're really excited that you're there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be in Yucaipa.
I'd like to echo that. I think it's an important project. I'm glad that we have this program, and I'm really happy for you to take advantage of that. I think this is a first wave of what's going to come into the Uptown. So this is a very, very important project, more important than you probably think, and helping to revitalize our Uptown. I'm very excited for you. And again, I'm glad that we have this available to you and that you're taking advantage of this. I'm looking forward to visiting when you open up. Thank you so much for coming into our town and developing.
Thank you very much. And also I'd like to say that I've opened up several restaurants in the past, and between myself, the contractors, architects, everyone involved, this has been the smoothest, most positive interaction we've ever had with a city.
Oh, thank you.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? You guys have any more questions? You guys are,
Same thing. It's District 4 right there, so thank you for.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
all right, so I am going to currently, thank you. You can sit if you like. We're going to close the public hearing, and we're going to open it up for council discussion. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add, or you have any questions for Caroline?
No. I'd like to go ahead and approve.
So is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion.
Second. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you much. Moving on to item number 13. Is this Landon again?
This actually will be Fermin taking the lead. I think we heard him join the call
Okay.
moments ago. I want to highlight also for you, we have our right-of-way agent, Margaret Monson, sitting behind me, and myself for any questions at the end of the presentation. I'll be driving the bus here, so Fermin, I'll let you take the lead here and just let me know when I can change slides for you.
Well, just for clarification, I do need to open, this is a public hearing,
Oh,
correct?
yes.
Yeah, I need to open the public hearing first, and now we'll listen to staff presentation. You there, Fermin? Are you there, Fermin? Are you there?
Can't hear your voice. If you can hear us,
Can you hear us?
hopefully you're chimed in and maybe you can check your mic to see if you're muted.
Does it look like he's there? Are you there, Fermin?
Nothing.
Does that mean it goes back to you, Landon?
I can hear something on the line. I'm wondering if it's just a bad connection or. All right.
All right, you're up.
Okay,
Pat.
here we go. Okay, so this project, and Margaret, maybe if you don't mind, I'll just have Margaret jump up to the dais to kind of back me up here, and if we have technical questions, we can certainly field those along the way. This project here is for the intersection improvements along County Line Road. So just a little background information. The vehicular traffic on County Line Road has obviously continued to increase over the years, and currently the intersections between Calamasa Boulevard and Bryant Street are impacted during peak morning and evening commuting hours. In 2017, the city of Calamasa and city of Yucaipa staff initiated discussions for a joint project on County Line Road. Looks like Fermin exited. Maybe he'll come back in a moment. Okay. I'll keep moving along so we don't lose precious time here. So this slide before you here is the exhibit that shows the proposed County Line Road corridor project improvements. You can see on the top left here, we have the I-10 crossing with the two interchange roundabouts, ramp configuration. This is Calamasa Boulevard. And then picking up here, you'll see the different color coding on this exhibit, which highlights the grant funding, the different grants that we have applied for and have been successful in our partnership with the city of Calamasa. So the orange is a little bit difficult to read, but there's a segment of County Line Road here between Calamasa Boulevard and 4th Street that is, Park Avenue, and then also from 5th Street to 4th Street. That is a project that is primarily funded with the MSRC grant. The areas in the purple are the LPP grant funded areas. And then finally, the areas in green were the ATP grant funded areas for those improvements in between those intersections. So the LPP funding, that is the grant we're working on with Calamasa for primarily the intersection improvements, is kind of the focus of this project here this evening. Am I hearing something chime in online? Gabe, Fermin, can you hear us now? Okay.
Landon, is he there? You're doing an incredible job.
Okay, I'm gonna charge ahead. Okay, so again, the County Line Road Corridor Project extends a little over 1.5 miles from Calamarsa Boulevard to Bryant Street. It's made up of several smaller projects that we just highlighted with separate grant funding. And over the years, we've been working with the city of Calamasa and us combined, applying for grant funding to construct the overall project. So those 3 grant funding programs are that ATP, the Active Transportation Program, which is in green on this exhibit. We took the lead with that from California to 3rd Street on County Line Road. The project involved the sidewalk, bike lane, and curb and gutter improvements. And those projects, that project with that funding was completed last year in 2019. The MSRC grant funded project in orange there, again, City of Yucaipa took the lead on that grant application, and we're in design for that right now. We're going to be completing that shortly. Similar improvements to the previous one there. The limits are from 4th Street to Calamasa Boulevard, sidewalk, bike lane, curb and gutter improvements. And then finally, the LPP under the SB1 grant program identified in purple. The city of Calamasa took the lead with this application, and I know Margaret was involved with that process over there in her work with that city. This covers the remaining segments between Bryant all the way to 5th Street, and it includes the 5 roundabout intersections identified in purple. The right-of-way requirements being reviewed tonight are required for the construction of this grant-funded component of the project. So the improvements that are identified in this project that's identified on this exhibit in purple require the right-of-way acquisition at these locations that we're highlighting tonight. The city of Calamasa has submitted the funding allocation request to Caltrans for the CTC consideration that is rapidly approaching here in January. The engineering and construction plans for this component in purple here include those roundabout intersections. They are completed by the city of Calamasa's engineering consultant, but with input from the city of Yucaipa through our review. 4 of the 5 roundabout intersections are single lane roundabouts, and the roundabout proposed for the 5th Street intersection is a dual lane roundabout. As a result of several traffic studies completed in 2013, the city's general plan includes roundabouts as a suitable option for intersections, and County Line Road is identified as a 4-lane arterial street at build-out in the city's general plan. These engineering studies, traffic studies have shown that the construction of these roundabouts in lieu of these standard traffic signals at these intersections allow for a segment of County Line Road to remain 2 lanes instead of being built out to 4. So you can see actually at this part of the screen here, we transition from the 4-lane County Line Road segment. It transitions down to 2 lanes here, all the way up to Bryant Street. The construction of the roundabouts on County Line Road significantly reduces the construction costs, right-of-way acquisition costs, and impacts to private properties. So this next slide shows if we were to pursue the arterial improvements with the 4-lane approach, this highlighted color in magenta here would be the right-of-way requirements for that typical section of the roadway with the 2 lanes in each direction and the signalized intersection. So you can see in this next slide, it shows the roundabout right-of-way requirements with the 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, and the roundabout alternatives. And then I think the next slide actually overlaps those 2 layers so that you can see the difference. Again, the blue being the right-of-way requirements needed for the roundabout improvements. At the bottom here, we have a total of about 13,467 square feet of what's needed for these proposed improvements. And again, back to the standard 4-lane configuration with the signalized intersections, that amount of right-of-way would have significantly increased in that scenario.
So Landon, this item right here, the resolution of necessity, this is actually kind of what we're trying to avoid by going to the roundabouts, so we don't have to go through this process by acquiring property that we don't really want to. It's expensive, and we don't want to intrude on other people's property, but so from what I understand, there's 17 properties that require property acquisition, and there's 5 of them that have not responded? Is that what? 5,
Yes.
4 or 5? Was there
Well,
4 or
maybe
5?
Margaret can clarify. She's been involved with the negotiations, so.
Yes, actually, what you have before you is 5 properties
5?
that have not responded to the offers and outreaches that we have made since we came to council, I believe in December 9th of 2019 with the environmental approval, and council authorized the staff to proceed with right-of-way acquisition.
Right.
So from that point, we go into the appraisal process, and by the time the appraisal process is completed, we're able to put together the offers, and those were actually submitted in March to each of the property owners.
And quite often, the resolution of necessity, actually, from what my experience and the experience we've had, is that it kind of wakes them up, and they're like, you know what, maybe we should respond.
Yes.
Is that usually what has
Yes.
happened?
Now, in some cases, for example, there was contact with the property owners very early on, and then all of it stopped. I'm not certain if COVID had much to do with it, but letters, emails, voicemails, phone calls. And in the very beginning of COVID, I was actually not knocking on people's doors simply because, I don't know where they are in this process. I've had some of the homeowners say, I'm over 70 and I cannot have anybody come to my home.
Right.
So, but even under those circumstances, they were still in contact with me and able to make an agreement. And a lot of those things have already been before you and approved. So we're down to the
All right, so is that you finished with the presentation?
I have a few more comments, but yeah, to summarize, the 17 properties required to construct the project. We have been going through that acquisition process since December of last year. We reached agreements with 12 of those property owners and unable to reach an agreement with 5, 2 of which have been in contact with the city, haven't reached that agreement. And as of today, 3 other of those properties of the 5 have not responded to our original offer. On this slide here, you'll see the locations. I believe they may be in the exhibits in your report, but we have these 3 located further up County Line Road, and then the 2 at the 5th Street intersection. This shows all of the locations here. A little bit of background on the grant funding, because part of the schedule is driven with this approaching meeting in January, and we certainly don't want to be in jeopardy of losing those grant fundings to construct this. The partnership with the city of Yucaipa for that grant funding is $3,747,000. Yucaipa's share is $2.1 million. Calamacia's share is a little over $1.6 million. Our share is greater because the 5th Street roundabout is entirely within the city of Yucaipa, and the other intersections are split 50-50. Couple other notes before we conclude the presentation. We believe that the construction of this project, like we've seen with other infrastructure projects, can result in many direct and indirect economic benefits within the community. There are at least 5 development projects along the County Line Road corridor that will be able to move forward and generate revenue for the city. The corridor project is consistent with the general plan transportation element and SPCTA's Regional Transportation Improvement Program. As Margaret mentioned, through this process, the city is authorized to acquire these properties. in the interest for the project for public use pursuant to the California Government Code. The public hearing on the resolutions of necessity or RONs relate only to issues A, B, C, and D, as outlined on page 310 of your report. The amount or value of the subject property interests are not an issue for consideration at this public hearing. The adoption of the proposed resolutions of necessity will require a 4/5 vote this evening by the City Council. The description of the property interests are provided in the amended agenda report. I believe those were handed out under separate cover as well tonight, and also available at the back of the room. So staff recommends City Council conduct a public hearing and consider recommendations 1 through 4 in the amended agenda report for this item. And that concludes our report, and we're available to answer any questions. We also have a representative from the City Attorney's Office, Mike Yoshiba, on the line. I'm not sure, Mike, if you can hear us, or maybe let us know if you're there for any questions that may arise. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you for stepping up, Landon. That was, caught you off guard there, and you did a great presentation. So I don't have any, do I have a public?
I have a question, if I may. Are we going to continue with attempting to notify and negotiate with the property owners as we move forward with the condemnation?
That's
Or
our
have you-
every intention.
Okay.
A lot of times, once they receive notice that something has been filed with the court, then we will get a phone call, we will get an email, we will get a letter of some sort. And then if there is resolution available between, as far as an agreeable negotiation, we will bring that before the council, or depending on the stage of the filing. Mike, you may be able to talk about that, but I can say that there's been a couple of different ways that we've resolved these things in the past. So one of them would be through the normal purchase and sale agreement, and another one would be through a negotiated agreement through the courts.
How many times you make contact with these, well, for these 5 examples? Are they multiple contacts, 2 or 3? Do you use phone, emails, and letters? How do you correspond, and how many
Phone,
times?
email, letters, email if I'm able to make a contact right away. I can say that at the very minimum, each property represents at least 10 hours worth of my time contacting them, writing them, even hand delivering to their properties.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're making an honorable effort to continue to contact them and offer, that we want to negotiate and not have to put them in a position where put us in a position where we have to be a heavy hand.
Oh,
That's my only
definitely.
concern.
This is something that I don't seek to do. It's so much easier to be able to come to an agreement, even if it isn't necessarily what we anticipated. It's easier to come to some agreement with a property owner than to be here before you today requesting a resolution of necessity. It would be my heart's desire to come to a resolution or an agreement that could be resolved in a different way.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
okay. So are there any other questions for staff?
Well, I remember when we did Avenue E, we had the property owner at 3rd and E came here, and she didn't understand. And this is what I worry about, because if they don't understand that we're just going to take it, that they need to negotiate something, or we're just going to do it, if they don't understand that, and I don't know what kind of correspondence we had, but I found that people don't really understand that. They think that if they just hold out, well, I'll just keep it. Well, if they don't understand that through this process, which cost us more money, we're going to just take it because the city needs it. I just wonder if we got that point across to them, that either you cooperate or it's over, kind of a deal.
Well, somewhat
That's-
like that, yes, in the offer.
That's what we're trying, sorry, I'm gonna jump in. That's what we're trying to avoid. And I think this, in
Yeah.
past, I know we've done this in the past. Usually when we file the resolution of necessity, I think almost 100% of the time they've contacted us and there's no issue. I think we work through it, so.
I can,
Do you have anything else you
No.
want to add? Just. Sure, yes.
if I could also add, within the offer letter to each and every property owner, there's a handout and an informational pamphlet on eminent domain and their rights as a property owner. In addition to that, as part of what council had approved previously, as far as the appraisals, was an additional amount specific to the property owner to allow them to get their own appraisal if they did not agree with the appraisal report that was done by the contract appraiser. And they had the ability to say, I need to be reimbursed. So, and I would always tell them, look, you go ahead and hire an appraiser who has the ability to do this type of an appraisal, who will actually accept a payment from the city for billing instead of you actually having to put the money out. So, I mean, going the extra mile on behalf of the city, yes, I've had those conversations. And as of today, on all 5 of these, I have not actually paid out any of that independent appraiser money.
Okay.
And if I may add to just Margaret's statement there, I know that at the initial point of contact, we do have to, and we do add that information about the process of
Right.
where we could end up. And we even do it in a way where we say, this is just kind of a technicality. We need to make sure you're aware of this process, but we wish to negotiate with you and work with you on this project. And it doesn't stop there too. When we're in construction, we are coordinating with them in the field. So we kind of approach it in that way so that they know we're doing everything we can
Right.
to avoid this
I think that's
last
been the
resort.
position of the council for forever too. You want to negotiate with the owner as much as you can. I mean, we really, this is what we actually try to avoid at all costs. So, Councilmember Thorpe, do you have anything? No? Everyone else?
So,
Everything?
if I understand correctly, the necessity is based on a 2013 traffic survey that says that this is an arterial route into our city. Do we have any newer stats that further justify this so that when we continue to defend our actions, we can still say that this is a necessity still, even though we've had a substantial change to the ingress and egress of our city by way of Bryant and Singleton Road now connecting and eliminating a lot of the eastbound traffic from the interstate? I'm just curious to know if
Well,
the
this-
feasibility of a new traffic survey to give us a little bit more teeth in this to show that it is still necessary. We're not using an antiquated survey.
Well, is this, sorry, I don't mean to jump in here. This is specific to this corridor, correct?
Yeah, and I'll let Landon answer the question relative to updated traffic studies, but I would indicate that the initial studies that were done relative to the general plan update and that were part of the application process, changing the designation of the general plan from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, all of that also included the extension of Singleton and Bryant Street. So those traffic counts, traffic modeling numbers were included in the study that the assumption was made that Bryant Street, Singleton, would be extended to the freeway.
And we can certainly look into the effort that City of Calamasa went through with the design of the intersections, with the environmental component of that. I don't know if, Margaret, you have any?
No, I just wanted to add that during the environmental study, that is a required component as far as the impact on the environment. And that study came before the council last December. So here it's been a year.
My concern was strictly the model of vehicular traffic as an artery into our city, and the necessity there to relieve that traffic by widening or adding the roundabouts to alleviate that, and making sure we weren't making decisions based off an antiquated model.
Gotcha.
Right, so there are some newer studies that,
Yes.
that
Newer than
have
the-
that information. And we can produce that summary if you like in a format where we can share that.
All right, so just so I can stay organized here, we're still in the public hearing. I don't have public comment. I don't have any public comments at this point. So unless there's anything else from staff, I'd like to close the public hearing and open it for council discussion and perhaps a motion. Is there anything anyone else would like to add or discuss at this point?
I have no more comments. I'd like to go ahead and move the item. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, members of the
Yes.
city council, if I might, this is a very technical type of action that the council takes, and we like to have the record look a particular way. So if you don't mind, I could help with a motion, and that way the record will reflect each of the elements that we would recommend.
Okay, is
Thank
it-
you.
Okay, the motion, if someone wanted to make it, would be that the city council find, based on the evidence contained and referred to in the report and the testimony and comments received this evening at the hearing, and any written testimony that may have been submitted, that the evidence warrants the necessary findings with respect to the proposed resolutions of necessity. The city council, in the exercise of its discretion, adopt the referenced 5 resolutions of necessity, with each resolution of necessity requiring the 4/5 vote, and authorize the city attorney's office and city staff to take all necessary steps to acquire the real property interests identified in the 5 resolutions of necessity, and to take all necessary steps to deposit with the state treasurer's office the probable compensation required by law for issuance of an order for prejudgment possession, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents.
And that is my motion.
It's a heck of a motion.
I'll second your motion.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Moving right along, let's move to item number, I believe it's 14. Is this also a public hearing? I believe so.
It is, yeah.
So I will open the public hearing and go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. For a bit of background, the city has 2 different property and business improvement districts known as PBIDs, and they are known collectively as the Yucaipa Village Square Management Districts 1 and 2, which include properties on California Street between Yucaipa Boulevard, Avenue B, and then Yucaipa Boulevard between Bryant Street and 2nd Street, respectively. Now, PBID itself provides a assessment on those properties, which are then spent on activities, including landscape lighting and other approved activities as specified when the PBID's Property Management Plan, or PMP, and then also as approved by the Historic Uptown Association Board, consistent with that property management plan. Also, as background knowledge is the board also provides recommendations to the city on uptown-related activities as specified between a memorandum of understanding between those two different PBIDs and then the city as well. Now, under the current board, concerns have arisen regarding potential exposure that the board may have regard to their actions and recommendations. And so at the August 26th and October 20th meetings, they had provided direction to where insurance and legal support could be eligible costs within their management plan to ensure that the association board is protected on any decisions that they make or any recommendations they may provide to the city as well. Based on this direction, a study session was conducted with the city council on November 9th to discuss potential modifications to the property management plan for both districts, and then also changes to the MOU between the city and the board that would help indemnify the board for any recommendations that they provide on a city's specific action. And so based on that direction, draft language was provided to the Uptown Association at their meeting of November 17th and was recommended for approval by that board. And so these changes are reflected in the draft PMP and MOU in tonight's packet as underlined text. And so pursuant to state law, this is essentially a two-step process. The first part is what we're here for tonight, which is adopting a resolution of intent to modify the PMP. And then at the subsequent meeting, so in January, we would actually bring those changes that are shown in the draft version of those management plan and MOU for formal adoption at that meeting. And so with that, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any question, but this is the changes themselves reflect the recommendations from the board and city council at this study session.
Okay.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I will also add, not that you shouldn't take these actions this evening, certainly that's the direction we received at the last meeting, but I wanted to give the city council an update on conversations that we've had with a few of the board members, not a majority because of the Brown Act, but several of the board members. And I've been asked by several council members to pursue this potential alternative. And that is, we are in the range of about $30,000–$35,000 plus security for the annual assessment of the, it's probably closer to 40 now, for the PBID. And over the last year or two, we have certainly increased our time relative to investment, if you will, relative to staff time to administer the PBID and attend meetings and prepare and respond to concerns and also events in terms of their participation in those discussions. At the same time, in the Uptown, we're certainly trying to help businesses with our CDBG program and the rest of the community, and our CARES Act funding efforts as well. And these folks are, some of these folks are either out of business temporarily or underutilized, and so paying assessments during that same time frame may not make as much sense. And in addition, some of the conversation that we've had at the council meetings has focused on these two issues, the insurance, legal costs, and so by potentially dissolving the PBID, those insurance and legal costs would no longer be applicable, and it's up to the council whether there is a recommending committee approach in that effort. But the third question that I guess we have for council this evening is whether you wish to have us pursue the dissolution of the PBID, and if so, we would have the opportunity to discuss that with the full board at their meeting tomorrow night. And we would bring that back to council for your final consideration in January. So that's the provide further direction to staff as deemed appropriate action item here this evening.
So if we were to move forward with the second option that you just brought up, would we need to consider the first that was discussed about the insurance or any of those?
Given that it's been noticed, and I don't think there's any downside to continuing with the first action in your agenda and come back to you in January. But you wouldn't need to finish that process if, in
Okay.
fact, you decided to dissolve the P-bid.
All right, I do have three speaker slips here, so I'd like to give them a chance. The first one up is Larry Turner. Larry, would you come on up?
Is that
Is
on
that
the,
microphone on?
is that on the agenda?
I'm sure.
Dissolving
I'm
the
sure it
P-bid,
is.
is that on the agenda? Is that on this, is that part of this?
This would not be a final action. It's a request for direction, not a final action.
Larry, can you hear us?
Now it'll talk. Okay,
Go ahead, Larry, you have 3 minutes.
I got 3 minutes. All right. First of all, I wasn't abreast of the fact that we're discussing canceling the P-bids or dissolving the P-bids. And, I mean, we've talked about that in the past because we wanted to be a part of what went on uptown. That's why we made this committee. Now, the city seems to have chosen to pretty much take over our committee and hold the meetings with a massive amount of staff. We've almost got more staff at the meetings than we have members of the board. So I'm not sure exactly what this is all about, or whether, because we're concerned about our positions with the city and our liability, we were interested in finding a way that we could be under a blanket from the city for legal expenses should they arise from our actions and our activities. I'm just befuddled a little bit by the way this has happened. I'm also befuddled about us being virtually the last on the list tonight when, you know, we went through all the committees and all the different people that you've positioned that aren't even here. So, but anyhow, I just don't know for sure what this proposition is about, short of what Ray just said, dissolving the P-bids. And we threatened to do that when the city and the Chamber of Commerce wouldn't listen to us when we had concerns about the activities that jeopardized our incomes and our businesses. So that's my point.
All right, thanks, Larry, and thanks for your patience, by the way. All right, next up is John Chu. Go ahead,
Mr.
John.
Mayor and the council members, my name is John Chu. My building is at 12113 California Street. A few days ago, we have a discussion regarding the proposed amendment of the management plan of the Yucaipa Village Square. So what I've listened to the city manager, and then I think may be a good idea, you know, by dissolving the association and also the P-bid. But this is my opinion. But the other members, some of the members like Larry, he doesn't know much about that. And then the last meeting, just have myself, 2 other members attend the meeting. But the rest of the members, I don't know if they're aware of that proposal. So I think it's a good idea that we're gonna have a meeting tomorrow. We'll further discuss about the proposal and then see what we come up for the recommendations. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. And thanks for your patience. Craig Suveg?
Council, on behalf of the Uptown Association, there obviously appears to be quite a bit of confusion and frustration over the association's relationship with the city. Can any one council member tell me whether or not the Uptown Association is under a contractual obligation with the city through the PBID assessment?
This is your public comment, so go ahead and keep speaking if you'd like.
That's a question that needs to be answered here. We have been told by our city manager that there has been violations of the Brown Act on this particular committee. If that allegation is on the table, then I would imagine we are part of the city of Yucaipa. We've also been told by the city attorney that we are independent. These two statements being made roughly 20 minutes apart. So this association is currently in limbo as to what our status is. And the reason I'm making this point is because it does not appear to this board that entertaining legal services, insurance, etc., may not even be ripe to consider at this point until we determine what exactly our association is. And I would ask, my request this evening of City Council would be to render a decision on that point first. This is something that came up roughly 3 months ago, and I believe Councilman Duncan was present at that Uptown Association meeting in which I requested, as the chair at that time, to have City Council make a decision on that issue. Now, I don't believe I've been appraised of what that is, and if we are not part of the city, I would like to know the basis of that. I have documents that are clear on their face that we are part and parcel of the city of Yucaipa. City Council in 1997 and again in 2006 established two PBIDs. They adopted a resolution to do so. So
All right,
the
great.
PBIDs are a program of the city, and we are under a contractual obligation with the city.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig, and thank you for your patience. Are there anything else that the staff wants to rebut or discuss?
Is that the last speaker?
That is the last speaker, yes. If not, I'd like to, perhaps we could close the public hearing if you don't have anything else to
Well,
add. And then,
I guess
and then we
if I-
can go to
I
council
think,
discussion.
wait, before we do that, are you sure there's nothing that you want to comment on with respect to the speakers?
If I may, very briefly, I know it's
Yes.
getting late in the evening. Number one, of course, Craig is not, as he mentioned, no longer the chair. I'm not sure that he represents the Uptown Association. He's not on the board at this point. Two, there was never an accusation made about a violation of a Brown Act. Simply conversations about conversations, but never an accusation made relative to violating the Brown Act. And I'll defer to the city attorney relative to the independent entity question about the Uptown Association versus the city.
Did that document that Robert Coleman give us, did that add any clarity or no?
It was part of the review process by the city attorney's office leading up to that decision.
All right, so is there anything left for staff presentation at this point? Are we? Okay, so I am going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this point and open it up for council discussion. So, Bob, do you have something?
Well, I mean, are we going to be able to ask staff any questions during this conversation or no?
Yeah, do I need to reopen the hearing?
So
No,
if-
go ahead.
No, but,
Go ahead.
I'm,
No, go ahead. He
go
can
ahead.
ask.
I'm prepared to answer
Okay,
questions that you might
go ahead,
have on.
Bob.
So if there was no accusation of a violation of the Brown Act, every member of that board believes and believed that there was an accusation of a violation or a potential violation of a Brown Act. And I think the question that either they're part of the city or they're not, if they're not part of the city, there can't be a violation of the Brown Act, correct?
Again, I'll let the city attorney answer that, but this independent entity, even though it's not underneath the city umbrella, is subject to the Brown Act.
Why?
There's a specific statute on that, Mayor Bogue, members of the city council. So the process, as the speaker, Mr. Suveg, mentioned, certainly does involve the city. The city goes through a process for forming the PBID district. However, there's also a separate entity that is the PBID organization. That's typically a nonprofit organization. And then there can be contracts with respect to providing the services that are funded with those assessments. In this case, again, to the speaker's point, there is a contractual relationship from a management plan, but that is different than bringing that separate entity under the city's umbrella, number one. Number two, in the act that allows for the establishments of these business improvement districts, the act there's a specific provision that says the board of the separate entity is subject to the Brown Act. So when that, it's the 1994 is when they call it the 1994 Act that applies to the formation of these types of districts. And there's an express provision in the statute that says so the board would be subject to the Brown Act.
Sir, what is that? If I'm going to research that, that's the 1994 Act of the Brown Act?
Yeah,
Or how would I find that?
I can get you the specific section number.
Please do.
Absolutely.
Is this basically, they're identified as a quasi-governmental agency then, or something along those lines, like a water district or another entity that's separate from city and state government, but still quasi-governmental?
You could probably call it quasi-governmental. I think it's a little different context here. I think one of the odd features out is probably the statutory requirement that they comply with the Brown Act.
Is that a legal term, quasi?
Yeah.
Well, really quick, just so we get back to what's on this item right here. We have two items, and the first item is about administrative cost, including insurance for the associated board, legal services, attorney, and so forth. So I think we need to take this two steps. We need to take item number one, and are we okay with allowing the board to issue insurance and use that money for legal services and so forth?
I'm not okay with that at all. I'd like to see this organization brought under the city's umbrella. Is there a reason why that can't happen? Because I lived 8 years of my life, or 7 years of my life, thinking that they were, and I said this before, and I think every member of that board believed the same thing, and I'm not really sure how it came to be that there was a revelation. You gave me a copy of the agreement. I read it, but I missed that, and I think everyone on that board missed that. Is there a reason why they couldn't be under the umbrella of the city? Is there a reason that couldn't happen?
I think that is generally the direction that the dissolution of the PBID, and if council so chooses, creation of a recommending committee is what that would do. The committee would act like say the Open Space and Trails Committee, and then it would be under the umbrella of the city, wouldn't have any of the liability concerns that they have currently, and obviously don't pay the assessments either.
So is this item number one a recommendation from their board, or is this a recommendation from the city?
Item number one is something that we talked about with their board. It was pursuant to their request to be able to use the assessments for insurance costs, legal costs. They weren't previously in the planning document.
Right, and I've been contacted by some of their board members who, this was their proposal, so I'm not sure why I'd just throw that under the bus and say no, if it actually is coming from them. So that's why I want to take that first, and then we can discuss the second part.
I'm not sure I agree that that was coming from them.
Well, I've been contacted by people, and they've been asking me about this specific item for a while, so.
Do we know what the cost is for
So-
insurance and for attorney's fees? Do we know that there's enough money to then cover all the expenses of the lighting and the insurance? Do we know what the insurance cost?
I know one of the board members was actively pursuing estimates from insurance companies, was not, at least the last time I spoke with him, was not able to get an insurance estimate. Legal costs are highly variable depending on how you need to use attorneys in annual efforts. So it's hard to estimate what the attorney's cost might be.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here just for the sake of time. Unless do you have more? I'm going to go ahead and ask if there is a motion for item number 1 at this point. So apparently there's no motion for item number 1. Okay. So that dies on the lack of a motion. So number 2 says provide further direction to staff as appropriate. So the question is one of the recommendation is the dissolving of P-bid, or do we keep the P-bid? And this goes to tomorrow, and we give them a recommendation, correct?
Yeah, the question is, what do you want us to put on the table with the board tomorrow, I guess?
So as of right now, item number 1 fails.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't get to use their allotted funds for insurance and so forth. Is that correct?
That's what I believe is the case, yeah.
So then item number 2, which is provide further direction, does anybody want to? I'm okay with looking. I know there was a board member up here that said that they were okay with the dissolution. I've had contacts with other people who have a lot of issues with the P-bid. And if it really is that problematic, why don't we just dissolve it and start again? Maybe we find something else. If it really is that problematic, I think it's a great thing. I think we need to have something of that nature, but if it's going to create that much anxiety for people, I think maybe we should dissolve it and try again.
I'm inclined to go with that. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, the costs associated with operating P-bid on the city staff side is potentially, or if it's not actually greater than the cost of actually going on our own. So, but I'll acquiesce to the mayor and move to support the dissolution of the current P-bid and reevaluate and determine the value and need for something different, a reconfiguration, whether it be a committee, commission, or whatever. I'm open to that.
But for clarification, we don't have the authority. Are we dissolving it, or we're just giving a recommendation for tomorrow's meeting?
Yeah, but you're giving us a direction to explore the possibility.
That's what I would support.
And maybe that's my words are chosen poorly, so, but that's my intent.
Yeah.
I would like to hear, you made reference that Mr. Suvig is not the chairman. I would like to hear from the chairman. I would like to hear from the board, and maybe give some direction to them at their tomorrow's meeting that, we're elected representatives, gentlemen, and I want to hear what they have to say, what their board who represents them have to say before we make a decision to, get involved with this group of our community constituents and business holders.
I
and
agree.
that's actually what my recommendation is that we push it to them, and I'm okay if they want to dissolve it. I support them. That's actually my position, is let them decide.
And we have to remind ourselves that they were aware of this meeting tonight. We have some people from the organization here. And why the chair and all the other elected officers are not here, I don't know. But, you know, just say, sure, I'd love to hear, but they're not here tonight, so what's going to motivate them to be here in 2 weeks?
If I may, I'm sorry, just for clarification. We couldn't meet with the full board because it wasn't an agendized meeting until tomorrow night.
No,
Somebody had to go first, either the council.
But they're aware of the meeting tonight is my point.
Well, no, because we met with 3 out of 6 board members, which is okay. It's not a majority of the board on purpose, so that it wasn't a Brown Act violation. We had to meet with one of the bodies in the agreement first, and so we let 3 board members know that we were taking this to council. Of course, it is on the agenda under a separate item, separate direction. So we, in all fairness, let 3 board members know that we were taking this item to council for possible consideration tonight, and that the intent was to explore the idea and take it back to their board for their consideration, for their input in the process. And so the idea is to just make sure everybody is aware of this potential option, and but we had to start with someone, and we started with 3 board members. The other 3 board members at this point, you know, were not aware unless somebody let them know. And
Which they
so-
shouldn't have, right?
They shouldn't have.
According to
yeah,
the Brown
they
Act.
shouldn't, that's right. And then you folks are the first to pose the idea or review the idea, if you will.
So-
And then I want to say one more thing real quick. The chair and the vice chair no longer are on the board. The chair that spoke, the former chair that spoke earlier was not voted in. The vice chair, and they haven't selected a chair, the vice chair stepped off the board at the last meeting. And so the ranking officer, if you will, we did meet with Pat and 2 other board members. John Chu was one of them. He spoke tonight. But Pat is the ranking member as the treasurer, if you will. The 2 officers, they didn't fill the chair position, and the vice chair stepped off the board.
Okay. All right, so on providing further direction, do we need to make a motion on that, or is that something that you just have direction from us at this point?
Yeah, and we'll come back to you with whatever we hear at the board. if that's-
Do we need a motion on our direction?
No, I think it's just direction at this point, unless there's not concurrence with discussing the options with the board and coming back to you with the final decision based on the board input. I think I heard concurrence.
Well, that's exactly what needs to happen. You need to have that meeting with the board and let the board actually tell us what they want to do and tell us how that we could either make it work or dissolve it, one or the other.
Okay, and I think if that's, I'm seeing concurrence on the council, so.
Okay. We're all good?
Good.
Everyone good? Okay. So moving right along, let's move to item, oh, wait a minute. Did I close? I did close. We're good? Okay. All right, so moving to a study session. The subject is the County Line Road Roundabout Intersection Landscape Concept Plan. Is this you, Landon?
This is me. Thank you once again. This is for the corridor we were just speaking about moments ago, the County Line Road. This item, study session, is focused on the proposed landscaping for the intersection improvements at the roundabouts on County Line Road at 2nd, 3rd Street, California Street, and Bryant. So it does exclude the 5th Street location, but it does include the 4 intersections I just listed. As with the design of the street and intersection improvement plans, City of Calamasa took the lead on the development of these landscaping plans. I call them concept plans at this point since they're not final. So through that development process, city staff and the city's contract landscape architect, Steve Franken, has been coordinating with the City of Calamasa and has reviewed these landscape plans before you this evening through several review processes. And based on his reviews, the latest proposed landscaping plans that are attached to this report, they have been revised and they are consistent with other City of Yucaipa transportation project median landscaping throughout town. The proposed design, as you'll see on the exhibits or the concept plans, incorporates a variety of plants, trees, shrubs, ground cover, as well as hardscape features such as crushed stone, boulders, and rocks of varying size and color. Additionally, the plans also include the proposed sidewalk fencing, irrigation, the electrical and lighting for the intersection lighting and crosswalks, as well as the water improvements that are required to support the landscaping and the irrigation. The conceptual landscape plans also include the proposed monument signage, and these would be at the Bryant Street and California Street intersections. The proposed monument signs, I should show you here. This is just one of the exhibits. They're very similar in nature with the style and the proposed palette of landscaping. And then finally here we see the proposed monument signage for Bryant Street and California Street. These would face north and south, so as you enter into the city of Calamasa from Yucaipa, you would see this side, and then subsequently as you're leaving the city of Calamasa, heading northbound into the city of Yucaipa, you would see something like this. This is consistent with some of the other monuments we have at our key gateways entering the city with that mountainscape in the background. Of course, this is a little bit different style with the Corten weathered steel here. Again, back just moments ago as we talked about some of the benefits of these improvements when they're constructed, it's important to recognize that the infrastructure that's going in with this project facilitates economic development opportunities that we highlighted earlier along the County Line Road corridor, as well as the streets adjacent to the project, and some of this, not only the street improvements, but the drainage that typically is required of development projects when they go in wouldn't be necessary because they would be constructed with these corridor projects, and there are indirect and direct benefits to the city in the form of future property taxes and sales taxes generated by that expedited future development, much like we're seeing with the Yucaipa Boulevard gateway there near the freeway. The preliminary construction cost estimates prepared for this project based on this conceptual plan being presented tonight are in the amount of the range of $550,000 to $650,000 for all of the four roundabout intersections. And it's important to note that these costs include not only the landscaping, but the fencing, the irrigation, the intersection lighting, the water improvements, and also the water meter costs through, in this case, Yucaipa Valley Water District. It's important to note at this time, there are no direct general fund monies allocated to the overall County Line Road Improvement Project, and there's no immediate fiscal impact as a result of this council action. So the order of business tonight is that staff recommends council conduct a study session to review and consider the proposed plan and direct staff as appropriate.
All right, so this is a study session, so we're gonna be getting your opinion. Really quick, this was already approved by City Council of Calamasa?
The plans are not finalized, so we're still in the development process. I believe that through the development of the intersection improvement plans, I believe they have seen a version of this, but we are still working on this with City of Calamasa staff. So these are not final plans that have been approved by council.
But it has to be approved by them also, so it's whatever we come up with, they have to approve also, correct?
Agreed, and I should point out that the LPP grant that has this critical time frame component with the meeting coming up in January, these improvements are not incorporated into that grant funding. This will be a separate effort or funding project, so it doesn't have that time sensitivity to it, if you will. We have more time to approach this in its own, with its own processes.
All right. All right, so where do you want to start? Mr. Avila, would you like to?
I do have a question. We said that the project's going to be at 5th, 3rd, and 2nd, California and Bryant. We have the roundabout already at 2nd Street, is that right?
Currently, this is
County Line Road. County Line, okay, my mistake, okay.
Latest projects that we just recently completed on Avenue E were 2nd and 3rd.
And the infrastructure for the irrigation system is coming from our side or their side?
You know what, I misstated that earlier about Yucaipa Valley Water District, although they provide sewer, this is the South Mesa Water Company's area.
Okay.
So I should point that out. The South Mesa Water Company is in the process of moving forward with some water main relocations, and I'm not sure what side of the street they're currently on. They serve both the city of Yucaipa and Calamasa. So it would be the installation of a new water meter along with those fees at each intersection. And then the irrigation would come off from the back of that meter. So I'm not sure if it would be on one side of the street or the other, and I don't know if the plans indicate where that meter would be located.
And who's going to be responsible for this maintenance?
That would likely be a joint effort, and
We'll have to
subject
have
to an agreement, another agreement.
Some sort of
between the two
MOU or
cities.
something?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's coming down the road, okay.
What do you think of the concept?
I don't mind it at all. Actually, it's actually attractive. I'm not sure how Italian cypresses are going to fare there. I mean, they grow to be pretty tall, a little bit maybe out of whack after a while, but in terms of.
If I'm not mistaken, I know Steve had shared with me the species of the cypress is not as tall as the common cypress that we see around. They're a smaller
The
variety,
50-foot
if
ones
you
at
will.
my house.
Yeah, those
Okay.
things get huge. Councilmember Thorpe, you have any thoughts or?
Just
What do you-
clarifying that you said the estimated cost for it's to 500,000?
550
50,000?
to 650,000 for all four.
That's our cost, or is that split between the cities?
Total construction cost with the water service meter fees.
So any thoughts on the concept? Any thoughts on the concept?
I think it looks nice.
Okay. Bob, do you have anything?
Oh, no, it's similar to what we have already approved at 2nd and 3rd, right, on Avenue E?
We actually haven't approved landscape plans there yet.
Oh, we
so-
haven't? I thought I saw that. Did we see that?
We conducted a study session about a month or so ago.
Okay,
We
yeah,
received
yeah.
direction,
So
so we
study
are
session,
moving
okay.
forward to finalize those plans, and we'll be coming back with a bid package to advertise and award that.
No, those concept plans were just hardscape and boulders and not the landscaping that you see here. But those are not finalized like Landon said.
All right. Good?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay, I like it. I like what you did there. So do you have direction? Any motion or anything needed? You're good?
I think general concurrence is fine.
All right. So that takes us to announcements. I see a lot of sleepy eyes out there. So, Councilmember Beaver, do you have anything for announcements? Nothing?
No, sir, happy to be here.
All right. Glad you're here.
I just want to welcome these two to our group, and thank
Absolutely.
you for your service, and good to have you.
Get ready for some long meetings, right? All right. David, do you have anything?
No, I just want to echo Councilmember, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Duncan's statements. Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome aboard. It's going to be fun and exciting for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. You have anything?
Just excited to be here.
All right. And I think we don't meet till the following year, so have a good Christmas and Happy New Year. All right, so we do have a closed session item. I'll turn
We
this
do.
over
Thank you,
to-
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We've got 3 different items on closed session this evening. The first 2 items, there may be reportable action. The third item, we do not expect reportable action. First item is conference with legal counsel regarding a liability claim number 2020-16, Jeremy Danzer. Second is also a liability claim. It's liability claim 2020-07, Robert Falk. Again, we may have reportable action on those two items. The final action is potential initiation of litigation, one case, and we do not expect reportable action on that item.
All right, so the city council is now adjourned. We want to do this in.
You picked that right up.